Chapter 865. Zhou thought for a moment, and felt that this had nothing to do with him. He didn't plan on entering the founding emperor tomb, so he didn't make wild guesses. After circling around, he returned to the periphery of the founding emperor tomb and searched for the tiny palm symbol along the edge, hoping to gain something. Zhou had no intention of entering the founding emperor tomb to begin with. Now that he knew that Lu Yun and Jing Daoxian were entering, he wouldn't enter at all. He only circled the periphery. There were terracotta soldiers in the periphery. They were basically at the legendary stage. Further in were epic bronze men. It was said that there were mythical gold men, but they were very rare. Zhou didn't see any. When he was about to reach the founding emperor tomb, Zhou slowed down. He definitely wouldn't enter the tomb. All he needed to do was look for the tiny palm symbol. Among the dungeons that Zhou had downloaded, there was already 13 tombs. It was the only game dungeon that Zhou had yet to enter. The main reason was that there were some mysterious things in such dungeons. If he didn't deal with them properly, problems would arise. More importantly, he couldn't find the entrance, so he could only circle around the periphery. A place like a tomb wasn't a place for people to enter, so it was naturally impossible for there to be an entrance. If he wanted to enter, he could only dig his way in. It was the same for the founding emperor tomb. There were no doors, but there were many holes dug nearby. It was said that many people wanted to enter, but something happened to them midway. Up to now, only the 6 heroes had successfully entered. Using Truth Listener's ability, Zhou carefully searched the vicinity. His luck wasn't bad. He found the tiny palm symbol on a stone beast that was half buried in the soil. Zhou was delighted as he hurriedly patted the tiny palm symbol and entered the download screen. After waiting for a while, the download didn't succeed. This dungeon was probably a relatively important dungeon. After having the phone for so long, Zhou realized that the speed at which the game downloaded had nothing to do with the size of the game map. Typically, dungeons that downloaded slowly would have something especially powerful or mysterious inside. It was getting late, and he had already obtained the dungeon. In order not to bump into Lu Yun and Jing Daoxian, Zhou planned on leaving and continuing his travels. To his surprise, he saw Lu Yun leaning against a tree by the side of the road, looking at him with a faint smile. "Junior brother, I never expected us to meet again so soon," Lu Yun said with a smile. This guy must have seen me long ago. Zhou knew very well. He looked at Lu Yun and said, "Eldest senior brother, have you thought it through and want to help me take care of you?" When Lu Yun heard O's name, his heart couldn't help but palpitate. He looked at in Zhou arms and hurriedly shook his head. "I have something to discuss with you. You should have heard my conversation with that old man. Are you interested in entering the founding emperor tomb together? This sword is the key to entering the founding emperor tomb. With it and your earth elemental beast, we can safely enter the founding emperor tomb and take whatever we want." "I'm not going," Zhou said directly. "Don't you want to know what's in the founding emperor tomb? Inside is..." Lu Yun was slightly taken aback. Just as he was about to say something, he was interrupted by Zhou. "I don't want to know, nor do I want to go," Zhou said as he circled around Lu Yun and continued walking forward. Ignoring the fact that there was no danger in the founding emperor tomb, with the old man suspected to be Jing Daoxian around, Zhou definitely wouldn't go. Even Lu Yun had discovered him. Zhou didn't believe that Jing Daoxian hadn't discovered him. It wasn't easy to get involved in this mess. "I heard that there's an elixir of immortality in the founding emperor tomb. One can live forever after eating it." Lu Yun refused to give up as he followed beside Zhou, hoping to continue persuading him. "I'm not going." Zhou's attitude was firm. Even if Lu Yun mentioned a flower, he wouldn't enter the founding emperor tomb. "There's also a guardian cocoon in the founding emperor tomb. If you enter, you might have a chance to contract a guardian," Lu Yun continued. "I'm not going." He didn't expect to receive such unexpected good news. However, even if there was a guardian inside, Zhou wouldn't go. After all, his phone was already downloading the game dungeon. He could still fight guardians in-game, so there was no need for him to take the risk. "Do you know who that old man is?" Lu Yun suddenly asked when he saw that Zhou was determined not to enter the founding emperor tomb. Yes, Zhou answered. Lu Yun was taken aback by Zhou Wen's answer. Then he asked in disbelief, "You know who that old man is? That's impossible, right? You shouldn't have seen him before. He's already a dead person. Who do you think he is?" Zhou Wen felt that something was amiss when he heard Lu Yun's words. He stopped and asked him. Everyone knew that Jing Daoxian wasn't dead. Even when he was injured and almost lost his combat ability, the Bureau failed to capture him despite setting up an inescapable net. You should be familiar with the Zhuolu expedition team, right? That old man is one of the members of the expedition team, Lu Yun said mysteriously. Absolutely impossible. I've seen everyone in the expedition team. There's no such person, Zhou said. Seeing Zhou Wen's reaction, Lu Yun knew that there was a chance. He chuckled and said, "As long as you read the information on the experts and staff members of the expedition team, it's not surprising that you know them. However, have you ever thought that there might be some people who aren't recorded? I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. It's impossible for an outsider to stay in the team for an expedition of that scale," Zhou said. "He's not an outsider. Don't you think that there's something missing from the information after reading so much?" Lu Yun said solemnly. Zhou frowned and thought. He didn't feel that there was anything missing from the information. There was information on all the staff, experts, and professors. Seeing that Zhou didn't understand, Lu Yun said, "Don't you think that there's no information on the people who organized the expedition team?" Zhou was slightly taken aback. He thought about the information he had read and said, "Why not? Isn't there information on those officers and soldiers? Are those officers and soldiers qualified to organize such an expedition team? They are only in charge of security," Lu Yun asked. "Think about it. For such an important expedition, they hired so many top experts, but only a few low-ranking officers were used to protect them. There's no one to supervise the progress of the work. Don't you think that's a little amiss?" Lu Yun continued. "Are you saying that the League deliberately concealed some information? Is that old man one of them?" Zhou asked Lu Yun. "Actually, I've investigated this matter before. I even entered the department that initiated the expedition and read the information back then. However, the information was done perfectly. I couldn't see any problems at all. However, after reading some other information, I found that in that department, several people had disappeared inexplicably when the expedition team was established. Since then, they had never appeared again. Later, I did a lot of investigations and can confirm that those people must have gone to Zhuolu." Lu Yun paused for a moment before saying, "That old man's name is Xie Yukuan. He's one of those people." So Gu. Chapter 866. "Where did you find him?" Zhou sized up Lu Yun. He was somewhat puzzled as to why Lu Yun was so concerned about this matter. "It's quite a coincidence. I originally came here to wait for you. I guessed that after you obtained the Earth Elemental Beast, you would most likely come to the Founding Emperor Tomb. To my surprise, I didn't see you after waiting for so long. Instead, I discovered Xie Yukuan, who was selling things at the market. I recognized him as one of those people. So I secretly followed and monitored him, but I was discovered by him." Lu Yun paused for a moment before continuing. "Who do you think I, Lu Yun, am? He naturally isn't my match. In order to save his life, this old fellow told me some things. Only then did I know that he had indeed gone to Zhuolu and was in charge of supervising the expedition team's work with a few others. However, later on, the others disappeared with the expedition team. He said that he had returned to the encampment that day because he was sick, so he escaped the calamity. I naturally didn't believe him. And then, Zhou increasingly found this matter odd. He felt that the old man was most likely Jing Daoxian, but Lu Yun said that he was Xie Yukuan and that he was related to the Zhuolu expedition team. This was somewhat strange. Then, he told me some nonsense, saying that there's something good in the Founding Emperor Tomb and that he has a way to enter. I think he really knows the Founding Emperor Tomb very well. Furthermore, I'm very curious as to why he's in such a hurry to enter the Founding Emperor Tomb. Therefore, I agreed to cooperate with him and temporarily stabilize him before waiting for you to come," Lu Yun said. Zhou sized up Lu Yun for a while before asking, "Why are you interested in the expedition team?" "Ahem, of course it's because I'm concerned about you, junior brother. I know you are very concerned about this matter, so I help you investigate. Lu Yun changed the topic and said, if you don't believe me, we can capture that Seiyukoin later. You can torture him personally, and you will know if I'm lying to you. Me? Beat him? I'm afraid that the two of us will be the ones crippled, Zhou Wen said with a twitch of his lips. Don't worry. Although that old man has some ability, he's far from being a match for us. I can deal with him alone, said Lu Yun smugly. Zhou Wen looked at Lu Yun's expression and didn't seem to be faking it. So he said to him, I don't know why you are interested in this matter, but I don't know if that old man is Seiyukoin. I just feel that he looks like someone. Who is it? Lu Yun hurriedly asked when he saw Zhou Wen's serious expression. Jing Daoxian. Zhou Wen said the 3 words. When Lu Yun heard this, his expression changed. He said in disbelief, that's impossible, right? How can he be Jing Daoxian? In any case, I won't be going to the founding emperor tomb. Do as you see fit. As Zhou Wen spoke, he was about to leave when he brushed past Lu Yun. When he looked ahead, his expression changed. At some point in time, the old man was standing on the road in front of them, smiling at them. Zhou Wen's back immediately broke out into a cold sweat. Lu Yun wanted to stop Zhou Wen, but when he turned his head and saw the old man, his expression changed. Old man Xie, when did you come? Lu Yun also knew that something was amiss. Seiyukoin had appeared so close to them, but he hadn't sensed him at all. The old man ignored him and smiled at Zhou Wen. I never expected you to recognize me. It's somewhat beyond my expectations. It's difficult not to recognize a figure like you, Zhou Wen said to Jing Daoxian. The old man had clearly admitted that he was Jing Daoxian. Jing Daoxian didn't comment. Since you are interested in the founding emperor tomb, why don't you enter together? You should know that even if I kill everyone in this world, I won't bear for you to die. There's no need for you to be wary of me. Are you really Jing Daoxian? Lu Yun widened his eyes as he looked at Jing Daoxian in disbelief. The number 1 devil in the Federation. He had actually beaten up the number 1 devil in the Federation and was still standing here, perfectly fine. Now, Lu Yun felt his legs go limp. From the looks of it, you were also waiting for me? Zhou Wen stared at Jing Daoxian. I originally wanted to wait for the Zhang family's earth elemental beast to be auctioned off before taking it back. However, since you took the earth elemental beast, I naturally can't take anything from you. I can only wait for you here, Jing Daoxian said. I'm very sorry. I'm not interested in the founding emperor tomb. I'm leaving. Since you and my eldest senior brother are so interested in the founding emperor tomb, it's best that both of you go together, Zhou Wen said. Lu Yun's face turned livid as he forced a smile. I'm not interested either. I was just fooling around. Don't take it to heart, old master. Jing Daoxian's expression didn't change as he sighed. It didn't matter if the two of you didn't go, but now one of you has the earth elemental beast and the other has the Emperor Qin's sword. These 2 items are necessary to enter the founding emperor tomb, so no matter what, I can only invite you to accompany me. What if I say no? Zhou Wen was already prepared to fight or flee. Jing Daoxian smiled and said, you don't have to be so nervous. I've said it before. Even if everyone in the world dies, I will ensure your survival. Therefore, you don't need to treat me as an enemy. However, you have to accompany me on this trip to the founding emperor tomb no matter what. I'm just too old and my body is too weak. I need some external help to continue living. That's your problem. What has it got to do with me? As Zhou Wen spoke, he retreated. Although Jing Daoxian treated him as a test subject and the possibility of him killing him wasn't high, who knew what kind of schemes Jing Daoxian had? However, who knew what Jing Daoxian was plotting? It was best to stay as far away from him as possible. Zhou Wen had seen Lord Alcohol and Xia Zhouhuang's outcome with his own eyes. The 2 of them were also Jing Daoxian's test subjects. There was no doubt about that. Since Zhou Wen isn't going, it's useless for me to go. I'll leave this sword behind for you. Kid, I'll be leaving first. If you have anything to say, take your time chatting with my junior brother. Lu Yun placed the ancient sword on the ground and retreated. Jing Daoxian didn't stop them. All he did was slowly take out something. It was an ancient bronze mirror. The mirror's surface was blurry, and the shadow it reflected was also blurry. When Zhou Wen saw the ancient mirror, he felt that something was amiss. He summoned the earth elemental beast and wanted to use Earth escape to leave. Lu Yun's speed wasn't slow either. Like a meteor, he quickly charged into the forest. Jing Daoxian had no intention of stopping them. He held the ancient mirror and slowly spun it. Then a strange scene happened. Zhou Wan, who had already used Earth escape, and Lu Yun, who had rushed into the forest, retreated. "Follow me." Jing Daoxian carried the ancient mirror and walked. Zhou Wan and Lu Yun couldn't control their bodies. Like puppets, they were pulled towards the founding emperor tomb. Chapter 867. Zhou Wan felt as though his body was out of control as he followed Jing Daoxian towards the founding emperor tomb. His body's various functions seemed normal, and he could use his various abilities. However, for some reason, he couldn't help but follow Jing Daoxian. Zhou Wan didn't blindly counterattack. He used Truth Listener to observe the ancient mirror in Jing Daoxian's arms and realized that there were his and Lu Yun's shadows in the ancient mirror. The problem was that Jing Daoxian's back was facing them. It was impossible for the ancient mirror to reflect them. So how could there be their shadows in it? Lu Yun was also led away. He gathered strength in his hand, but after a few moments of hesitation, he didn't dare attack Jing Daoxian. Although Jing Daoxian's back was facing them, and he didn't seem to be on guard, the person was Jing Daoxian. Even Lu Yun had to consider the consequences of attacking. Zhou Wan didn't attack either. Instead, he secretly circulated his essence energy art and switched his life soul to see if he could escape the ancient mirror's control. If he couldn't escape the ancient mirror's control and really fought Jing Daoxian to the death, he would be restrained everywhere. It was almost impossible for him to gain the upper hand. Truth Listener's evil nullification ability didn't work. The ancient mirror's ability clearly didn't belong to an evil power like a curse. Switching to the Tao Sutra and the heaven-opening scripture of the highest elder with the ability to break taboos failed to allow Zhou Wan to escape the ancient mirror's control. It's not a power like a curse, nor is it a taboo power. What kind of power is the ancient mirror? Zhou Wan suddenly realized a problem. Was in his arms, but there was no sign of her in the ancient mirror. Why isn't there any sign of Is it because Jing Daoxian didn't attack or is it because is special that the ancient mirror is useless against her? If it's because is special, what's special about her? Zhou Wan thought for a moment and felt that the biggest difference between and him was that had already died once and couldn't be considered a real living person. Zhou Wan thought for a moment and switched his essence energy art to small perfection of wisdom. He wanted to see if he could use Supreme Hell King to escape the ancient mirror's control, but it was useless. However, after Zhou Wan switched to Supreme Hell King, he was stunned when he saw Jing Daoxian. He rubbed his eyes in disbelief and carefully looked at Jing Daoxian's body. The outcome was the same. He couldn't see any sinful flames on Jing Daoxian's body. Zhou Wan had seen so many humans, but he had never seen anyone without sin flames. At most, it was a matter of how many sin flames they had. Zhou Wan had seen so many humans, but he had never seen anyone who didn't have sinful flames. That's impossible. The more evil a person does, the greater the sinful sin flames. Jing Daoxian is the #1 devil in the Federation. He has committed countless evil deeds and killed countless people. How can he not have any sin flames? Since the Supreme Hell King's power was useless, Zhou Wan had as he could. Hell wins of sinful kings, as he wins as he of his God heaven as one was. If as he of Zhou, the as of the as is the Zhou, as the power. The Chun as of the Supreme God. The he the Supreme, Li the he the Supreme to the God. The Supreme of the Supreme Yun to say of the heaven. Lu Yun was clearly making all sorts of attempts, but just like Zhou Wan, it was to no avail. When they arrived in front of the founding emperor tomb, the two of them still failed to escape the control of the ancient mirror. Jing Daoxian stopped and waved the ancient mirror in front of the two of them. The two of them immediately regained their freedom. Jing Daoxian said with a smile, This ancient mirror is called the yin-yang mirror. You might not have heard of its name, but in ancient times, this yin-yang mirror once intimidated all the deities in the world. It can wipe out souls and determine life and death. I'm only using it to lock one of your souls. If you follow me into the founding emperor tomb, I'll naturally release the soul imprisoned in the yin-yang mirror. Of course, you can also choose not to go. However, this soul will be locked in the yin-yang mirror forever. Over time, it will probably dissipate. What will happen if you lose a soul? Lu Yun asked. To put it simply, the yin-yang mirror divides a person's soul into 3 souls and 7 spirits. It's not a big deal to lose one soul. You still have 2 souls and 7 spirits. Your bodies aren't damaged, so it won't be life-threatening. At most, your memory will become worse and worse. Over time, you might become an idiot, Jing Daoxian said with a smile. Lu Yun and Zhou Wen exchanged looks. Zhou Wen knew that Jing Daoxian wasn't being alarmist. The shadows in the ancient mirror weren't born out of thin air. They had some kind of connection with their bodies. Lu Yun suddenly thought of something as he stared at the yin-yang mirror and said, could it be that that ancient mirror is the legendary yin-yang mirror from the Battle of the Gods during the Shang and Zhou dynasties? You are quite knowledgeable, but it's not considered a treasure yet. It's just a manifestation of a mythical companion beast. However, it's slightly stronger than ordinary mythical creatures, Jing Daoxian said. A terror-grade companion beast? Zhou Wen stared at the yin-yang mirror. Jing Daoxian narrowed his eyes slightly. You actually know about the terror grade. That's right. The yin-yang mirror is indeed at the terror grade. If I wanted to kill you, it would only take a thought. Therefore, you don't have to worry about me killing you. This is because I can kill you at any time if I want you dead. There's no need to trick you into entering the founding emperor tomb. As long as you help me enter the founding emperor tomb to retrieve something, you can regain your freedom. Furthermore, I'll only take one thing from the founding emperor tomb. The rest will belong to you. You have the biggest fist, so you naturally have the final say, Lu Yun said. Zhou Wen didn't say a word as a form of tacit agreement. However, he thought to himself, since the yin-yang mirror companion beast can advance to the terror grade, companion beasts like Torch Dragon with evolutionary attributes should also be able to advance to the terror grade. How can I advance them? Zhou Wen still remembered that the Tharch had said that only a terror grade could defeat a terror grade. Although he had many pets, none of them were at the terror grade. It wouldn't be easy to defeat the yin-yang mirror. It's too late to think of a way to advance to the terror grade. Is there a way to bypass the yin-yang mirror and kill Jing Daoxian directly? Zhou Wen felt that he might have a chance. Jing Daoxian had previously been severely injured. Furthermore, even he had said that his body wasn't too good. If he didn't have any external help, he probably wouldn't live for long. Summon your earth elemental beast and let it bring us into the founding emperor tomb. You have to use earth escape according to the coordinates I mentioned. There can't be more or less. You have to be in the exact location. Otherwise, the 3 of us will die inside together. No one will be spared, Jing Daoxian said. Chapter 868. He had to kill Jing Daoxian in one strike. He couldn't give him a chance to counterattack. Otherwise, Zhou Wen wouldn't be able to withstand the terror grade yin-yang mirror. Before he was completely confident, Zhou Wen could only feign civility and listen to Jing Daoxian's instructions. The 3 of them sat on the earth elemental beast's back. Zhou Wen controlled the earth elemental beast and got it to enter the founding emperor tomb according to the coordinates Jing Daoxian had given. The earth elemental beast flashed with the 3 of them and burrowed underground. When Zhou Wen's vision recovered, he realized that the earth elemental beast body had landed on a huge stone pillar. The stone pillar was more than 4 meters in diameter and more than 30 meters tall. Beneath the stone pillar was a silver liquid slowly flowing. In the vast underground world, there was a huge stone pillar every few hundred meters. However, those stone pillars were directly connected to the stone ceiling. Only the stone pillar that they were standing on, for some unknown reason, was left with only half of it. It did not connect to the heavens and the earth. Apart from the stone pillars, the entire underground world was filled with silver liquid. If the earth elemental beast's earth escape was slightly off, they would easily fall into the silver liquid. Seeing Zhou Wen and Lu Yun look at the silver liquid below, Jing Daoxian said, "That liquid is mercury. It's extremely poisonous to humans, but with our physiques, this mercury is nothing. It can't harm our bodies. However, after the dimensional transformation, there's a terrifying dimensional creature in the mercury. If I were to fall into the mercury, even I might not be able to come out alive." "What dimensional creature is that?" Zhou Wen asked. "Why don't you take a look for yourselves?" Jing Daoxian said as he summoned a rat-like beast and made it fall into the mercury. The little beast flopped on the silver liquid a few times, and the surrounding mercury suddenly converged toward the little beast, forming a strange creature that looked like a snake with a pair of wings on its back. It swallowed the little beast in one gulp. When the little beast touched its saliva, its body immediately festered as though it had melted. Zhou Wen and Lu Yun were alarmed when they saw the little beast instantly devoured. The mercury-like monster had an extremely astonishing aura. It was definitely at the mythical stage. "You don't have to worry too much. As long as you don't touch the mercury, you won't alarm it." As Jing Daoxian spoke, he summoned a bird and sat on its back before flying deep into the underground world. Zhou Wen unsummoned the earth elemental beast and summoned a flying mount with Lu Yun. They flew deep into the underground world with Jing Daoxian. It's said that the founding emperor tomb is extremely dangerous. From the looks of it, it's nothing much. Lu Yun looked around, but didn't discover anything dangerous. "We haven't even entered the founding emperor tomb's entrance," Jing Daoxian said indifferently. Zhou Wen kept using Truth Listener to scan the area ahead. He had already seen a huge metal door appear at the end of the Mercury Sea. In the middle of the metal door was a flat gap that looked like it matched the ancient sword's blade. Soon, the three of them arrived in front of the door. Jing Daoxian pointed at the gap in the door and said, "Insert the Emperor Qin sword in and open this door. Only then will we be considered to have truly entered the founding emperor tomb." Lu Yun was somewhat hesitant, but his life was still in Jing Daoxian's hands. He had no choice but to walk over with the Emperor Qin sword and ensure that he was fully protected. Only then did he carefully insert the Emperor Qin sword. When the Emperor Qin sword was completely inserted, the three of them heard a crack. Lu Yun retreated like a bolt of lightning, but the door slowly opened, revealing the scene outside. Upon seeing the scene inside, Zhou Wen couldn't help but feel shocked. Behind the door was a huge, ancient city. There was a chain of ancient palaces in the ancient city. There were many bronze men holding weapons on both sides of the street. There were even a few bronze carriage statues standing in the middle of the street. At a glance, they could see the end of the long street. In front of the towering palace that looked like a temple sat 12 golden men. Each golden man was 30 feet tall when sitting, like a golden divine general guarding the palace. Swoosh! Just as the three of them stepped through the door, the bronze men on the long street raised their weapons and looked at them. These bronze men were very similar to the bronze men in the periphery of the mausoleum. However, the bronze men in the periphery of the mausoleum were typically unarmed and didn't carry any weapons. As for the bronze men here, each of them held a halberd or sword. With the sound of bronze swords being unsheathed, a group of bronze men charged at the trio. "Leave the puny bronze men to me." Lu Yun volunteered to charge forward. Bronze man companion eggs were rare to begin with, and these bronze men had weapons. If a few companion beasts dropped, their value would definitely be rather high. However, after Lu Yun rushed in, he realized that these bronze men were like experienced warriors. They advanced and retreated in rows and formed a battle formation as they constantly besieged Lu Yun. Thankfully, Lu Yun's movement technique was extremely powerful. His pair of quick hands flashed repeatedly as he snatched the weapons from the nearby bronze men with his bare hands. Crack! A bronze man's head was sliced off by Lu Yun's bronze sword. Lu Yun charged forward as though there was no one stopping him. Be it his movement technique or technique, they were all excellent. Even an army couldn't seem to trap him. After killing dozens of bronze men, he actually managed to drop a companion egg. Lu Yun's hands were indeed fast. Before the companion egg landed on the ground, he had already taken it. Just as Lu Yun was about to kill more bronze men, he suddenly saw one of the gold men stand up. The 30-foot-tall gold man looked even more majestic when he stood up. The golden man stepped on the stone steps and walked toward the long street step by step. His speed became faster and faster, and after a few steps, he was like a charging lion. When he was still 100 meters away from Lu Yun, he leaped up and attacked from the air. Lu Yun didn't hesitate. He summoned his companion beast and transformed it into a bracer that wrapped around his fist and arm. Then, he faced the gold man's huge fist without retreating. Boom! When the two fists collided, Lu Yun immediately flew back and fell to the ground. He rolled far away and slammed into the city wall behind him before stopping. Junior brother, I can't take it anymore. It's all up to you now. You have to leave this place alive. Lu Yun struggled a few times but failed to get up. Blood constantly flowed out of his mouth. Just as he finished speaking, he fell to the ground without a heart or breath. From the looks of it, he was dead. Jing Daoxian grabbed the Emperor Qin sword and stabbed it into his thigh. Lu Yun didn't move at all. Even his muscles and nerves didn't react. From the looks of it, he's really dead. Then don't waste it. Dig out his heart and use it as food, Jing Daoxian said as he prepared to stab Lu Yun in the chest. Ahem. I can still be saved. Lu Yun suddenly sat up again. His heartbeat and breathing returned as he said with a dry smile. Chapter 869. Zhou, I'll leave this to you, Jing Daoxian said as he pointed at the gold man that was walking over. Isn't your yin-yang mirror very powerful? Can't you just shine it? Why go through so much trouble? Zhou said, Unfortunately, the yin-yang mirror is only useful against life forms of flesh and blood. It's useless against such gold men. Jing Daoxian didn't seem to have any qualms as he mentioned the yin-yang mirror's weakness. Zhou didn't know if what he said was true, but all he could do was summon Tyrant Behemoth and let it fight the gold men. The gold men's strength and defense were very strong. They weren't at a disadvantage when fighting Tyrant Behemoth. Zhou had no choice but to get Tyrant Behemoth to activate absolute strength to finish off the gold men as soon as possible. Under the suppression of absolute strength, the gold men were immediately sent retreating by Tyrant Behemoth. Just as they were about to be severely injured, another gold man rushed down and joined the battle. With the addition of the gold men, the previous gold men became much stronger, but they were still no match for Tyrant Behemoth. The gold men came down one after another. They actually knew how to work together and attack Tyrant Behemoth together. Their cooperation was almost flawless. Not good. Zhou saw the problem. The 12 gold men were similar to the 9 black dragons in the underground sea. They could share each other's strength. After the 7 gold men joined the battle, their strength was already on par with Tyrant Behemoth after it activated absolute strength. It was difficult for Tyrant Behemoth to gain the upper hand. Tyrant Behemoth can't hold on any longer. You should do something, right? Zhou said to Jing Daoxian. Jing Daoxian said with a smile, You just need to lure the 12 gold men in front of the hall down. I'll enter the hall to get something and we'll leave immediately. It won't take long. Zhou knew that Jing Daoxian definitely had ulterior motives for bringing him to the founding emperor tomb. It wasn't as simple as using the earth elemental beast. More and more gold men came down from the steps. When 10 gold men surrounded Tyrant Behemoth, it had already gone from having an advantage to a disadvantage. It looked like it was having a hard time holding on. I'm afraid Tyrant Behemoth won't be able to last until all 12 gold men are defeated. It's best you make plans early. What Zhou said was the truth. Although Tyrant Behemoth was powerful, it was impossible for it to fight 12 alone. The strength and constitution of these gold men were very strong to begin with. Furthermore, they could borrow each other's strength. Even Tyrant Behemoth with absolute strength couldn't hold on much longer. Whatever. I'll deal with the remaining to myself, Jing Daoxian said as he charged toward the palace guarded by the 12 gold men. Zhou saw him carrying the yin-yang mirror and rushing over the battlefield like a strange bird, wanting to rush into the palace. The two gold men, who had yet to descend, immediately discovered Jing Daoxian's intentions. They stood in front of the hall's door and punched at Jing Daoxian. In midair, a ring on Jing Daoxian's finger spun. Then, Zhou saw his figure vanish. When he appeared again, he was already in front of the palace's door. Teleportation ability. Could it be that the essence energy art Jing Daoxian cultivates is spatial? As Zhou guessed, Jing Daoxian had already slammed into the palace's door. It was strange. The palace door was clearly tightly shut, but when Jing Daoxian slammed into it, it was as though he knew how to pass through walls. He directly drilled in. The door couldn't stop him at all. The two gold men's fists followed closely and slammed heavily into the door, causing it to rumble. However, they failed to move the door at all. Unable to find Jing Daoxian, the two gold men turned around and rushed down the battlefield, joining in the assault on Tyrant Behemoth. Tyrant Behemoth was already having a hard time holding on. With the addition of the two gold men, it immediately lost the strength to resist. Its body was punched several times, and its bones cracked. These 12 gold men are too strong. Even Tyrant Behemoth isn't their match. Let's retreat first, Lu Yun said as he retreated. However, when he arrived at the city entrance, he was blocked by a strange force. He couldn't leave no matter what. Lu Yun gathered his strength and slashed, but he still couldn't rush out. There's no need for you to try. I've already gotten the Earth Elemental Beast to try. It can't even use Earth Escape. Zhou had already tried. If he could leave, he wouldn't have gotten Tyrant Behemoth to withstand the attacks of the 12 gold men. Jing Daoxian rushed into the palace to take the treasures, but he left us here to wait for death. He's clearly trying to scam us to death, Lu Yun said. That might not be the case. Although these 12 gold men are powerful and have extremely powerful strength and constitution, they aren't fast. As long as we don't fight them head-on, it won't be easy for them to kill us in a short period of time. The problem now is how do we enter the palace? We can't really wait here for Jing Daoxian to come out, right? As Zhou spoke, he unsummoned Tyrant Behemoth. Having lost their important target, Tyrant Behemoth, the 12 gold men immediately rushed at Zhou and Lu Yun. Without waiting for them to come over, Zhou had already used his movement technique and charged at the 12 gold men. He watched from the side for a while and had a general understanding of the 12 gold men's abilities. Although it wasn't easy to kill them, it wasn't difficult to avoid being killed. Zhou used Transcendent Flying Immortal and constantly shuttled through the 12 gold men. Although the 12 gold men were strong, they appeared somewhat clumsy. They failed to touch Zhou. Lu Yun also quickly dodged the attacks of the 12 gold men. He was also good at movement techniques and wasn't much weaker than Zhou. Just now, the two gold men's fists struck the door of the palace, but they failed to move it at all. I'm afraid the door can't be opened with brute force. Otherwise, there's no need for Jing Daoxian to pass through the wall. We don't know how to pass through walls, so it won't be easy to enter, Lu Yun said as he dodged. Even if it's not easy, we have to give it a try. Don't you claim to be the best thief in the world? Can a thief like you even open a door? Zhou said, it's not difficult to open the door, but it also takes time. We are being chased by these 12 gold men. How can I have the time to open the door? Lu Yun said gloomily, I'll hold them back. Take the opportunity to open the door, Zhou said after some thought. How are you going to hold them back? Even Tyrant Behemoth can't withstand it. Do you have any stronger companion beasts? Lu Yun asked in puzzlement. I don't have stronger companion beasts, but if I just want to hold them back, I don't need a companion beast that's too strong. I just need to take a beating, Zhou said as he summoned a companion beast. Chapter 870. Lu Yun took a careful look and recognized the companion beast that Zhou had summoned. Not only did he know it, but he had also once owned it and later returned it to Zhou. No way. You want to use it to block the 12 metal men? Are you crazy? Lu Yun had once stolen the fiend-armored tiger soul general from Zhou, so he had some understanding of it. He knew that it was an epic companion beast. It was impossible for Zhou Wen to use the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General to fight the 12 gold men. Let's give it a try. Perhaps it works. Zhou Wen carried Ye and constantly moved around the city, dodging the gold men's attacks. The strongest thing about the 12 gold men wasn't their strength, but their defense. Even Tyrant Behemoth, which had absolute strength, failed to leave a fatal wound on them. It was obvious how powerful their bodies were. As soon as the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General came out, he was surrounded by the bronze men on the street. However, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General didn't care about that. The ferocious tiger under him charged at the bronze men crazily. The spear in his hand instantly pierced through 3 bronze men. Like a skewer of candied fruits, he lifted them up and threw them away, tearing them apart in the air. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General was truly like a tiger that had entered a flock of sheep. The bronze men, with astonishing defense, were unable to retaliate under his spear. In just a moment, he had killed 20 to 30 bronze men. A gold man charged at the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General and smashed its metal fist at it. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General didn't show any weakness. The spear in his hand stabbed out with the momentum of an armor-piercing spear, colliding with the gold man's fist. Dang! The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General remained motionless, but the golden man took a few steps back. In a one-on-one situation, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's strength was slightly stronger than the gold man's, but it wasn't too far off. Impossible, right? Lu Yun's eyes nearly popped out. When he stole the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General, he didn't think it was that strong. After the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General landed on the ground, it continued charging at the bronze men. A strange purple flame gradually burned in its body. Zhou Wen knew that the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's skill combination, which resembled a perpetual motion machine, was beginning to take effect. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General was a companion beast that became stronger the more it fought. It could condense killing intent to strengthen itself. The flames ignited by killing intent were converted by steel furnace, making his body stronger. As long as the 12 metal men were unable to destroy him in the beginning, he would become stronger and stronger. Perhaps when he reached a certain level, he would be able to contend against the 12 metal men. Zhou Wen wasn't sure if the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's body could be strengthened to that extent. He could give it a try now. As the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General displayed its might, more and more gold men were attracted to it. The pressure on Zhou Wen and Lu Yun lessened significantly. As for Lu Yun, he had a look of disbelief. He really couldn't believe that the companion beast he had stolen and returned to Zhou Wen would be so powerful. Now, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General was fighting 5 gold men alone. He was actually able to fight well and wasn't at a disadvantage at all. If I knew this thing was so powerful, I wouldn't have returned it to Zhou Wen no matter what. Lu Yun felt his heart bleed. Let me add fuel to the fire. Zhou Wen summoned the 3 fire furnace queens and got them to release a large sea of fire at the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General. 2 of the fire furnace queens had been spawned by Zhou Wen later. There were only 3 of them. With the augmentation of the flames, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General became even more ferocious. The purple flames on the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General intensified, as though it was a demonic tiger and demonic general that had rushed out of hell. 7 to 8 gold men surrounded it and temporarily suppressed the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's ferocious might. However, under their suppression, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General became stronger as it fought. It had no intention of retreating. Not long after, the 12 gold men were attracted by it. No way. This fellow is even stronger than Tyrant Behemoth? Lu Yun felt as though someone had stabbed him in the heart a few times. He had stolen such a ferocious companion beast, but in the end, he had returned it to Zhou Wen. Just the thought of this gave him the urge to slam his head into a wall or slap himself. Under the siege of the 12 gold men, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General staggered. However, it continued brandishing the spear in its hand to fight the 12 gold men. The ferocious tiger beneath, it kept roaring and pouncing. Although it looked a little tragic, it managed to restrain the 12 gold men. This was something that even Tyrant Behemoth couldn't do. Seeing sparks fly from the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's body, Zhou wasn't alarmed. Instead, he was delighted. He felt relieved. If the 12 gold men had used all their strength to kill the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General from the beginning, perhaps 8 or 9 gold men would have been able to kill it. However, now that the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's skills had formed a cycle, it became stronger and stronger in battle. It was no longer possible for the 12 gold men to kill him. As long as the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's body could withstand it, he might eventually become stronger than the 12 gold men. What are you still looking at? Open the door, Zhou said to Lu Yun. Only then did Lu Yun snap out of his daze. He looked at the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General with a pained heart before turning to run to the palace door to open it. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General rampaged through the city, attracting the attention of the 12 gold men. They no longer had the time to care about Zhou and Lu Yun. Some bronze men rushed over, but Zhou casually killed them, preventing them from approaching Lu Yun, who was opening the door. Zhou kept using Truth Listener to scan the palace, but the palace was enveloped by a strange force. Truth Listener's power couldn't penetrate it. Unless Zhou got Truth Listener to release its earring, it would be difficult for him to make a breakthrough. It's open. After a while, Lu Yun, who was leaning against the door, cried out in joy. Then he pushed the door with both hands, and the palace door opened. Zhou focused his gaze on the door and saw a scene that left him and Lu Yun stunned. They originally imagined that Jing Daoxian would definitely plunder the palace for treasures, but the reality was completely different. Jing Daoxian stood inside the door with both hands holding the yin-yang mirror. His entire body was drenched in sweat, as though he had just been fished out of the water. The yin-yang mirror's surface emitted divine light, and in the hall opposite the yin-yang mirror hung a 5-foot-long sword. The divine light emitted by the sword collided with the yin-yang mirror's divine light, but it wasn't at a disadvantage at all. It even showed signs of suppressing the yin-yang mirror. Holy sh*t, what sword is that? It can actually suppress the yin-yang mirror? Lu Yun was alarmed. He didn't dare enter the palace and only sized up the sword from outside. Zhou was also sizing up the sword. The yin-yang mirror was already a terror-grade companion beast. For the sword to be able to suppress it, it was clearly extraordinary. The ancient sword was simple and unadorned. It was actually a stone sword. Although it didn't look eye-catching, and there weren't any beautiful gems embedded in the sword's body or scabbard, the sword beam it emitted was terrifying. Chapter 871. Zhou only took a glance at the stone sword before his gaze swept past it and landed on the hall behind it. With the stone sword hanging as the dividing line, there were only some murals and sculptures in the hall in front. As for the hall behind the stone sword, there were rows of bamboo slips. Bamboo slips were tools used to record things in ancient times. Back then, paper hadn't been invented yet. People engraved words on pieces of bamboo and then strung them together to make it easier to preserve and read. Looking in from the outside, there were rows of shelves in the hall behind. There were all sorts of bamboo slips placed on them. There were so many of them that even the League's library didn't have such a large scale. This wasn't the main point of Zhou's observation. The main point was that the bamboo slips seemed to emit a strange power. It was because the power emitted by the bamboo slips was condensed on the stone sword, allowing it to produce such terrifying might that it could resist the yin-yang mirror. How strange! That stone sword can actually use the power of the bamboo slips. This is unheard of. Zhou was somewhat puzzled. Books and swords were originally two incompatible things, but now the sword was borrowing the aura of books. It was very strange. Lu Yun gave Zhou a look before looking at Jing Daoxian, who was struggling with the stone sword in the hall. Zhou immediately understood what Lu Yun meant. He wanted to kill him while he was down. Now that Jing Daoxian was resisting the stone sword with all his might, it was the best opportunity to kill him. Zhou was somewhat tempted. If he could kill Jing Daoxian here, he wouldn't have to be on tenterhooks in the future. He was afraid that he would accidentally follow in the footsteps of Lord Alcohol and Xia Zhihuang. Just as he was wondering if he should take the risk, the yin-yang ancient mirror in Jing Daoxian's hand suddenly spun. The divine light on the mirror turned from white to black as it spewed at the stone sword. With a sword hum, the stone sword was unsheathed and transformed into a peerless sword beam that slashed at Jing Daoxian. The yin-yang ancient mirror's mirror beam couldn't block the stone sword at all and was sliced apart. The stone sword was about to slash at the yin-yang ancient mirror. Zhou Wen and Lu Yun were delighted. If the yin-yang ancient mirror could be severed, the soul imprisoned in it would naturally be able to escape. Dang! At the instant the stone sword was about to slash at the ancient mirror, the yin-yang mirror in Jing Daoxian's hand suddenly retracted. In his other hand, he smashed something that looked like a jade seal onto the stone sword. The stone sword fell to the ground with a clang and was suppressed by the jade seal. It struggled to overturn the jade seal and was about to overturn it. Jing Daoxian ignored the jade seal and stone sword as he quickly rushed into the hall at the back. With a flash, he vanished. Almost at the instant he rushed into the hall where the bamboo slips were piled up, the jade seal was cut in half by the sword light on the stone sword, directly shattered and destroyed. The stone sword circled in the air, but it did not chase into the hall behind. It only returned to the scabbard. Damn it! We should have taken action earlier, said Lu Yun regretfully. However, Zhou Wen shook his head and said, it's useless. Jing Daoxian sensed our killing intent towards him, which is why he suddenly risked his life. It doesn't matter if we attack earlier or later. What do we do now? With the stone sword guarding the hall, I'm afraid we won't have the chance to rush in like Jing Daoxian, said Lu Yun. Since we can't enter, we can only wait. Zhou Wen left the door and looked at the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General who was fighting the 12 gold men. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General became braver as he fought. Although he was still at a disadvantage, he was already able to stand firm under the siege of the 12 gold men. He wasn't as pathetic as before. Looking at the purple flames that burned crazily in his body like a cauldron, as well as the armor that had been calcined by the purple flames, Zhou Wen couldn't help but have a thought. The Ancient Sovereign Sutra is a combat-type essence energy art. The Defy Ancient Sovereign Life Soul is also the type that becomes stronger the more it fights. It's somewhat similar to the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General. Can I use the Fiend-Armored Tiger Soul General's model to improve the Defy Ancient Sovereign Life Soul? Zhou Wen thought to himself. Although the Defy Ancient Sovereign Life Soul doesn't have the ability to condense killing aura into flames, it has a powerful life essence. If I can use the Defy Ancient Sovereign's life essence to calcine myself, Zhou Wen considered this possibility. However, now wasn't the time to study this. He took out his phone and opened the downloaded Founding Emperor Tomb dungeon before entering it. The Founding Emperor Tomb dungeon didn't have an entrance, but Zhou Wen already knew the way in. He summoned the Earth Elemental Beast in-game and quickly arrived at the pillar in the Mercury Sea. He easily passed through the Mercury Sea and arrived outside the city. However, there was no Emperor Qin sword in-game. All Zhou Wen could do was attempt to use the Earth Elemental Beast to enter the city. Unfortunately, the mysterious Yin city seemed to be protected by some mysterious force. The Earth Elemental Beast couldn't enter. From the looks of it, I can only give it a try. Zhou Wen ordered the blood-colored avatar to forcefully blast the door, but it was useless. No matter how strong the attack was, it couldn't move the door at all. Could it be that I really can't enter without the Emperor Qin sword? Zhou Wen used Truth Listener to carefully observe the structure of the door and the sword hole, hoping to use the power of a miniature companion beast to open it. Unfortunately, the sword hole didn't have any special structure. It was like a scabbard that matched the Emperor Qin sword. Just as Zhou Wen was feeling disappointed, he suddenly realized that there seemed to be some words on the door. Strange, why didn't I see these words before? Zhou Wen looked at the ancient city's door in puzzlement. He didn't see any words on the door. He clearly remembered that when the blood-colored avatar first arrived in front of the door in-game, there weren't any words on the door. Zhou Wen looked at the words on the door in-game. They were ancient words from the East District. Zhou Wen had learned some of them when he was studying the Tao Sutra, so he recognized the words on the door. This is an essence energy art? After carefully reading the words on the door, Zhou was somewhat surprised. He never expected that there would be an essence energy art on the door of the founding emperor tomb. However, there was no beginning or end to it. Zhou didn't know what essence energy art was. While Zhou was reading the essence energy art on his phone, Lu Yun looked into the hall and then at the fiend-armored Tiger Soul general fighting the 12 gold men. He was extremely anxious. When he turned his head, he saw Zhou sitting there playing with his phone. He couldn't help but say, "Junior brother, you're still in a mood to play with your phone at such a time? We have to quickly think of a way to enter and see what Jing Daoxian is doing. With that stone sword around, I don't have the ability to enter. If you have a solution, feel free to give it a try." After Zhou finished reading the essence energy art on the door, the Lost Immortal Sutra came into play again and simulated the essence energy art. Chapter 872. This essence energy art was rather strange. It didn't have many transformations and was purely in Qi refinement technique. With every circulation of the primordial energy art, a portion of the impurities in the primordial energy would be removed, making the primordial energy even purer. This seemed to be a method that specialized in refining primordial energy. Zhou originally imagined that he could enter the imperial mausoleum by cultivating this primordial energy art, but he realized that it was useless. After gaining basic mastery of the primordial energy art, Zhou used it to push open the door, but the door remained firmly locked. It didn't open to him. He was somewhat disappointed that he couldn't enter the founding emperor tomb in-game. He originally wanted to try entering the temple in-game to see if there was a way to pass through the temple guarded by the stone sword, but he could only give up now. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul general became stronger as he fought. He was already able to fight the 12 gold men. He constantly charged back and forth in the ancient city. Most of the bronze men had been killed by him, leaving only the 12 gold men to fight him. However, there was no way to suppress the fiend-armored Tiger Soul general. This fellow's abilities are really indescribable. As long as he has enough time, he's even stronger than Tyrant Behemoth. Zhou was somewhat gratified, but he was also somewhat worried. The Jinx's master and untamed hills and unruly water skills were still there, making Zhou feel uncomfortable. "Junior brother, I remember that this fiend-armored Tiger Soul general should be an epic companion beast, right? How can it be so terrifying?" Lu Yun could not help but ask. "Don't you know that some companion beasts can evolve?" Zhou said casually. Lu Yun had long guessed it, but when he heard Zhou admit it personally, he couldn't help but regret returning the fiend-armored Tiger Soul general to him. There were very few companion beasts that could evolve. Typically, only companion beasts that hatched from God-bestowed companion eggs obtained from special dimensional zones had the ability to evolve. From Lu Yun's point of view, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul general was likely such a companion beast. In the intense battle, a gold man couldn't withstand the powerful collision. Cracks appeared on his body, and his head was chopped off by the Tiger Soul general. The golden man's huge body fell to the ground. His body, which was originally extremely hard, suddenly became as fragile as porcelain and actually shattered into pieces. Zhou saw a dimensional crystal drop from the gold man's remnant body. After losing one gold man, the combat strength of the 12 gold men was further weakened. As for the Tiger Soul general, his strength became stronger. As a result, the Tiger Soul general's ferocious might increased. The remaining 11 gold men were completely suppressed by him. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul general was like a tireless killing machine on the battlefield. The more he fought, the more ferocious he became. He forced the remaining 11 gold men into retreat. Before long, another gold man was killed. As a result, the combat strength of the gold men became even weaker. The remaining gold men were killed by the Tiger Soul general one by one. When the last gold man collapsed, there were no more living dimensional creatures in the ancient city. Zhou went down to clean up the battlefield and picked up the companion eggs and dimensional crystals dropped by the bronze and gold men. The 12 gold men only dropped a dimensional crystal, but it was an essence energy skill crystal. Zhou secretly used his phone to take a look and realized that the requirements for the Goldman primordial energy skill crystal were relatively simple. It required 41 primordial energy and 41 constitution. There were no special stat requirements. Unfortunately, Zhou only had 41 primordial energy, so he was unable to absorb and refine it. All he could do was put away. Without an opponent, the flames on the fiend-armored tiger soul, general's body, gradually dissipated. The furnace fire in it slowly extinguished as its strength rapidly dissipated. Zhou didn't order the fiend-armored tiger soul general to rush into the palace. Although he was powerful, he hadn't advanced to the terror grade. He would probably suffer greatly if he fought the stone sword. Could it be that we can only wait here for that devil Jing Daoxian to return? Lu Yun was indignant, but there was nothing he could do. He had already tried to summon a few epic creatures to rush into the palace, but the moment they entered, they were instantly killed by the sword beam emitted by the stone sword. The stone sword didn't even unsheath. Zhou was also looking at the stone sword, but his gaze was focused on the bamboo slips. Although the stone sword is powerful, its energy source seems to be those bamboo slips. If I can destroy the bamboo slips, the stone sword's strength might be greatly weakened. It won't be impossible to rush over, Zhou thought to himself. However, the bamboo slips were in the hall behind the stone sword. If he wanted to touch the bamboo slips, he had to pass through the stone sword. It wasn't easy to remove the bamboo slips first. Zhou thought for a moment and summoned the tiny blood threadworm's companion beasts. He got them to crawl into the palace, hoping to see if they could avoid the stone sword's protection and crawl into the hall at the back to destroy the bamboo slips. However, just as the blood threadworms entered the palace, they were killed by the sword beam emitted by the stone sword. Even miniature companion beasts won't work. Zhou frowned slightly. It wasn't that Zhou didn't have any other solutions, but he needed to enter the hall himself to know if they were useful. He wasn't willing to take the risk. The stone sword that could transform into a terror form was too dangerous for him. What's that? Lu Yun suddenly pointed into the ancient city and cried out in horror. Zhou turned his head and saw a pillar of light shoot out from the ancient city. It shot all the way to the stone dome of the underground world, illuminating the entire underground cemetery. Zhou frowned inwardly. Just as he was about to use Truth Listener to scan the pillar of light, he saw a figure walk out of the pillar of light. A human? That's not right. Guardian? That's not right either. Zhou looked at the figure in alarm. The figure looked like a human. His appearance and clothes were very human, but the aura on his body had the aura of a guardian. Could it be? Zhou thought of Wang Mingyuan. The creature in front of him looked like a fusion of a human and a guardian. However, he was somewhat different from Wang Mingyuan. Wang Mingyuan had absorbed and fused with a guardian, so Wang Mingyuan's was still the dominant existence. As for the creature in front of him, he felt that it was more like a guardian. Lu Yun also looked at the creature warily. He walked over step by step, and the wide-sleeved ancient robe on his body fluttered despite the lack of wind. When he got closer, Zhou and Lu Yun saw his appearance clearly. It was an old man whose hair and beard were completely white and dressed in ancient clothes. If there was anything different about this old man from a normal human, it was his skin. It was like jade, crystalline, and transparent. Zhou and Lu Yun retreated as they watched the old man walk towards the palace door. The old man ignored them as though he hadn't seen them. He walked into the palace door. Chapter 873. Just as the elder entered the hall, the stone sword immediately emitted a terrifying sword beam in a bid to kill the elder on the spot. As the elder looked at the sword beam from the stone sword, his body underwent an earth-shattering change in an instant. His flesh, skin, and even his clothes instantly turned into a jade-like state. It was as if his entire body had turned into a strange jade statue. The sword beam struck the elder's jade-like body, but it was shattered by the elder's hand. Terror, transformation. Zhou was alarmed. For the elder to shatter the stone sword's sword beam, he was clearly a terror grade expert. Without any hesitation, the stone sword was unsheathed again and slashed at the elder with an invisible sword beam. The jade-like elder suddenly extended his hands to clamp the stone sword. For a moment, they were in a stalemate. The stone sword couldn't stab any further, but the elder couldn't repel the stone sword either. The man and sword were in a stalemate. Who is this old fellow? He can actually withstand the stone sword's power, Lian exclaimed. However, Zhou didn't say a word. With a flash, he rushed into the palace. Lian also reacted. He gritted his teeth and rushed into the palace. The stone sword and the elder were in a stalemate, so they didn't have the strength to stop Zhou and Lian. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already rushed into the hall with the bamboo slips. Seeing that the elder was still in a stalemate with the stone sword, Zhou wasn't in a rush to rush in. He casually took a bamboo slip from the shelf and opened it to take a look. When he saw that the words written on it were laws, he randomly picked a few bamboo slips from different shelves to read. They were all laws. He couldn't help but find it odd. I heard that Emperor Qin believed in the art of immortality promoted by warlocks back then. I originally thought that the books buried with him would be related to alchemy and the art of immortality. I never expected it to be a book of law. As Zhou walked, he casually flipped through the books and realized that there were no records related to alchemy. They were all laws. Junior brother, why aren't you leaving? What's so good about those bamboo slips? Lian also flipped through a few scrolls and lost interest when he saw that they were all laws. Zhou put down the bamboo slip and quickened his pace. He walked to the back of the palace with Lu Yun and saw another door. However, it had already been opened. It was clearly Jing Daoxin's work. Behind the door, there was a screen made of jade blocking the way. The two of them walked around the screen, and what they saw shocked them. The ground was littered with broken pieces of bronze and jade, as if a great battle had taken place. However, there was no one to be seen, nor were there any doors leading to other places. There might be a secret door, Lu Yun said as he searched the wall, hoping to find the secret door. Stop looking. Look at the water in the pool. Is there anything wrong with it? Zhou said as he pointed at a pool. The water in the pool was black like ink, but it didn't have any strange smell. It shouldn't have turned black because it had gone bad. Are you saying that there's a path under the pool? Lu Yun sized up the pool, but the water in the pool was too dark. He couldn't see anything clearly. I don't know if there's a path down there, but there shouldn't be a secret door in this palace. Zhou had already used Truth Listener to scan the entire palace. If there was a secret door, it was impossible for him not to discover it. Should we go down? Lu Yun was somewhat hesitant. I'm afraid we can only go down, Zhou said as he looked outside and saw that the elder had already rushed in. Unlike Jing Daoxian, who had charged in, the stone sword chased after him. Wherever the sword beam on the stone sword passed, it destroyed almost everything. Without any hesitation, Zhou jumped into the pool with Yer in his arms. The Azure Dragon 7 Mansion's Essence Energy skill was activated as though an Azure Dragon was coiling around his body, repelling the black water outside his body. Lu Yun gritted his teeth and jumped down with Zhou. Strangely enough, the black water in the pool didn't seem to have any buoyancy. Just as they jumped in, they quickly plummeted. Furthermore, they fell faster and faster as though there was a force pulling them from below. Bam! When Zhou and Lu Yun landed on the ground, the powerful impact nearly broke their leg bones. Before they could see the environment in front of them clearly, two more shadows landed above them. One was the jade-like elder, and the other was the stone sword. The moment the stone sword landed, it emitted thousands of sword beams that enveloped the surrounding area. Zhou and Lu Yun quickly dodged. Zhou flipped over and hid behind a huge object. The object blocked the stone sword beam. He watched as the torrential sword beam struck the object, but it didn't shatter. Only then did Zhou realize that the item he was using to take refuge was a huge alchemy furnace. It was more than 10 meters tall and looked like it was made of copper. However, it wasn't the bronze that was commonly seen in that era. Instead, it was a type of purple copper. The sword light struck the purple copper pill furnace, causing it to ring loudly. However, it was unable to damage the pill furnace in the slightest. Zhou looked into the furnace and realized that it was filled with flames. The flames inside were already a blazing white color, and the temperature was unimaginably high. However, the purple copper furnace was only warm to the touch. It didn't feel hot at all. Strange. I've never heard of a furnace burning inside. It should be heated by the flames burning below, but this furnace is burning inside. What's the reason? Zhou found it odd. As the stone sword fought the elder, Zhou took the opportunity to size up his surroundings. Only then did he realize, to his surprise, that he was at the top of a mountain. In the pitch-black and huge underground space, a mountain occupied a huge space. They stood at the top of the mountain and were only 20 to 30 meters away from the stone dome above them. The surroundings were pitch-black. As the space was too large and there was no light, only the flames that emitted from the purple copper furnace's wind hole emitted light. This made the distance even darker. The area that Truth Listener could sense was empty. Instead, a cold wind blew from afar. Furthermore, the wind was very strong, causing Zhou's clothes to stick to his body. The cold wind drilled into his bones. Where did Jing Daoxian go? Zhou hugged and had his back facing the cold wind. After searching for a while, he didn't find Jing Daoxian. Luyan also rushed behind the pill furnace and met up with Zhou. He said, "There's nothing on the mountaintop except the pill furnace. Do you think the pill of immortality, refined by the Emperor, is inside the pill furnace?" "I don't think so. Otherwise, why wouldn't Jing Daoxian be here?" As Zhou spoke, he suddenly heard a loud rumbling sound from afar. It sounded like thunder. Chapter 874. Why would there be lightning underground? Luyan frowned slightly before his expression gradually turned nasty. "No, it's not lightning. It's wind." Lightning was a terrifying power. In contrast, most people might not understand the horror of wind. But to someone like Luyan, who often traveled the world, he knew very well that wind was much more terrifying than lightning. Zhou had long sensed the restless airflow in the air. He was more sensitive to wind than Luyan, so he naturally knew how terrifying the storm that might appear would be. Truth Listener's ability had already been pushed to its limits, but apart from this mountain peak, the surroundings were extremely empty. There was nothing, not even a place to hide. "Go to the back of the mountain," Zhou said as he flew down. The airflow became more and more restless. He couldn't estimate how terrifying the storm would be when it arrived, so he could only make preparations in advance. Luyan followed. He took many hooks and threw them into the cracks in the mountain wall. He used the crisscrossing ropes to fix his body to the side of the mountain. On the mountaintop, the stone sword was still fighting the elder. The battle between the two terror-grade existences caused space to collapse. It wasn't a battle that ordinary people could interfere with. Boom! The terrifying storm roared as it broke through the sound barrier. The sonic booms were like continuous thunderstorms. A hurricane blew past. On the back of the mountain, Zhou and Luyan, who weren't directly facing the storm, had their clothes fluttering. They almost couldn't grab onto the mountain rocks and were about to be blown away. The ropes on Luyan's body had pierced into his flesh, preventing him from being blown away by the wind. Zhou had already summoned Tyrant Behemoth. After it gigantified, it hugged the mountain peak and protected him inside to block the terrifying storm. The wind was even more terrifying than a blade. The epic armor Luyan was wearing was sliced open by the wind as blood gushed out. "Come out, little orange." Luyan roared in the wind. An orange cat appeared on his body, opened its mouth, and sucked in all the wind that was blowing on Luyan's body. The orange cat's stomach also swelled up like a balloon. Just as Zhou was worried that the orange cat would explode, it spat out the air it sucked in to resist the airflow. Most of the terrifying wind was blocked by the mountain, so they only had to bear the aftermath. When Zhou and Luyan thought that they had finally survived, they realized that they were too naive. This was because they soon discovered that the wind that blew past had actually formed a backflow, circling around the mountain peak and then rolling back. The incomparably violent airflow formed a vortex in the underground space. As the airflow continued to blow in, the wind vortex became stronger and stronger. The orange cat on Lu Yun's body could no longer keep up. Lu Yun's body swayed violently from the wind, and his ropes snapped one after another. His armor had already shattered, and he was about to be torn apart by the terrifying wind. Lu Yun's eyes flickered with starlight. His body suddenly transformed into a stream of light and disappeared in a flash. He had actually burrowed under Behemoth's body. At this moment, the Behemoth was hugging the mountain and fighting against the terrifying whirlwind. Even its fur was cut by the airflow. What the hell? What wind is this? Why is it so terrifying? Lu Yun hid under Behemoth and finally heaved a sigh of relief. He couldn't help but grumble. I'm afraid the truly terrifying wind hasn't arrived yet. Zhou wore a worried expression. The wind vortex in the underground space became stronger and stronger, as though it would never stop. If the wind continued to increase, even Tyrant Behemoth might not be able to withstand it. On the mountaintop, the Elder and the Stone Sword were still fighting. The Stone Sword seemed to have an irreconcilable grudge with the Elder as it pestered the Elder, making it difficult for him to escape. The mountain peak was the center of the vortex, but at the mountaintop, the wind speed wasn't that strong. The Elder and the Stone Sword fought in the center of the vortex, still fighting fiercely. The pill furnace had endured countless attacks from the man and the sword, but it didn't shatter. However, the wind vortex rushed into the pill furnace from the vent. The wind fueled the flames, making the flames in the pill furnace burn even more vigorously. From the vent at the top of the pill furnace, blazing white flames spewed out. Then, Zhou and Lu Yun saw a powerful wind constantly blow into the pill furnace, causing the flames in the furnace to spew out before being brought into the vortex by the airflow. The flames were like a fire dragon as they rapidly spread in the vortex. They were about to turn the vortex into a fire vortex. If it was just the wind, Behemoth could still last for a period of time. However, with the help of the wind and fire, the might was like a destructive force. Even Behemoth probably couldn't withstand such a terrifying force. Let's go to the mountaintop. Zhou put away Tyrant Behemoth and rushed towards the mountaintop with Yer in his arms. Now that the vortex of wind and fire had formed, the mountaintop had become the eye of the wind. There was no wind or fire there, forming a vacuum. All the wind that reached the mountaintop blew into the pill furnace and spewed out from the top of the pill furnace. It formed a small safe zone beside the pill furnace. Only there could one avoid the pain of the wind and fire. However, the mountaintop was already surrounded by flames. If he wanted to rush in, he had to pass through the 100-meter-thick flame vortex. Zhou was wearing the Demon Blood True Dragon armor, so he could still withstand it. However, Yer, who was in his arms, didn't have the protection of the divine armor. It was probably difficult for her to withstand the heat of the flames. Without any other choice, Zhou switched to civilized country and used its teleportation ability to teleport to the mountaintop. Without Behemoth's protection, Lu Yun could only follow Zhou to the mountaintop. He summoned a new armor and fused the essence-devouring beast with his arm. Instantly, he transformed into a meteor and charged through the fire vortex. Lu Yun's entire body was charred black. Many parts of his armor had melted, and his hair had been burned off. Blisters had appeared on his body, making him look wretched. Just as he entered the mountaintop, he was nearly slashed by a sword beam. Thankfully, he reacted quickly and rolled to a spot near the pill furnace. Zhou also hid beside the pill furnace. The stone sword and the elder were still fighting, ignoring the terrifying wind and fire vortex around him. Soon, the flames in the pill furnace spread to the entire space. A terrifying wind and fire tornado spun crazily around the mountain. The stronger the wind, the stronger the flames in the pill furnace. The stronger the flames, the more terrifying the flames that spewed out made the wind and fire tornado even more terrifying. However, it was strange. The flames were extremely terrifying. When the rocks touched the flames, they instantly melted, but the pill furnace in the mountain didn't show any signs of melting. The mountain still felt a little hot, but the pill furnace remained the same. No matter how hot the flames inside were, the furnace was only warm. Chapter 875. The huge underground space had already become a world of wind and fire. Zhou didn't pay attention to the battle between the stone sword and the elder. His attention was focused on the pill furnace. No matter how he looked at it, the terrifying wind was prepared for the pill furnace. The pill furnace used the wind to make the flames in the furnace extremely hot. Could it be that the elixir of immortality is really being refined in this pill furnace? Zhou suspected that he had been using Truth Listener to spy on the situation inside the pill furnace. However, due to the intense wind and fire inside, he couldn't hear much information. Just as Zhou was observing the pill furnace, a beam of light suddenly lit up inside. Even in the surging furnace flames, the light was still so obvious. Is it finally coming out? I've been waiting for so many years. This day has finally come. The elder immediately became excited when he saw the light in the furnace. Jade light emitted from his body as he forcefully repelled the stone sword. He flew towards the pill furnace and grabbed the lid with one hand, about to lift it open. However, the stone sword wasn't to be outdone. It flew up again and slashed at the elder's arm, forcing the elder to release the lid. Due to the stone sword's pressure, the elder failed several times in his attempts to open the lid. You've been fighting me for so many years. Are you still unwilling to give up? The elder was enraged as he suddenly retreated and temporarily escaped the stone sword. The jade light on his body condensed on his right hand, making his jade-like right hand even more crystalline. The stone sword seemed to sense danger and didn't charge forward blindly. It began to gather strength as words appeared on the stone sword's body. The runes had a strange power, and the appearance of each rune made the sword seem heavier. Zhou took a careful look and realized that the words that appeared on the stone sword were a law. Those who violate shall be punished. With the appearance of a law, the stone sword seemed to possess unparalleled strength as it slashed at the elder with a suppressive might. The elder's crystal-like right hand reached out almost at the same time. At the instant he extended his right hand, space and time seemed to freeze. It was as though only his hand was moving while everything else was still. Clang! The stone sword was sent flying by the elder's right hand. The law on the sword's body was also destroyed. Although the stone sword wasn't injured, it couldn't help but fly into the flame vortex. It was unknown what was happening. After the elder sent the stone sword flying, he immediately rushed towards the pill furnace. Without the stone sword's obstruction, he lifted the heavy lid with one hand and reached in with his other hand to grab the resplendent item in the pill furnace. Just as the elder was about to grab the item in the pill furnace, a white light suddenly shone out from the pill furnace. Just as the elder was about to grab the item in the furnace, a white light suddenly shone out from the pill furnace. The resplendent light in the furnace was like the sun as it rose up from the furnace. After leaving the furnace, the light slowly dimmed. Only then did Zhou see clearly that it was Jing Daoxian's yin-yang mirror. Jing Daoxian also jumped out of the furnace and stood on it. He held the yin-yang mirror in his hand and stared at the elder with a smile. "Who are you? How dare you plot against me?" The elder struggled to stand up, but with a wave of the yin-yang mirror in Jing Daoxian's hand, the elder lost control of his body like a marionette. He fell down the mountain and into the flames. "You're just an alchemist. Do you think you deserve to be called a king?" Jing Daoxian said disdainfully. "Boss Jing, you're still the best. That old man looks quite powerful, but I never expected him to not even be able to withstand a single blow from you," Lu Yun flattered. Jing Daoxian said, "I can't be considered powerful. I only took the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Otherwise, I wouldn't be his match. Although he's only an alchemist, he has fused with the Guardian in the founding Emperor tomb. After so many years, he has already evolved to the Terror grade. Few humans can be his match now." Seeing that Jing Daoxian had admitted that he wasn't the elder's match and that he had relied on a sneak attack to gain the upper hand, Zhou Wen and Lu Yun's fear of him deepened. The elder's body was truly terrifying. He rushed back from the flaming vortex, angrily wanting to kill Jing Daoxian. However, he had already been injured by the yin-yang mirror. The yin-yang mirror had already locked onto his soul. With just a spin of the yin-yang mirror, the elder's body flew out again. The stone sword originally treated the elder as a mortal enemy, but it didn't take the opportunity to attack the elder. Instead, it charged at Jing Daoxian. Jing Daoxian raised the yin-yang mirror to fight the stone sword. The elder also charged back, but unfortunately, just as he rushed back, he was controlled by the yin-yang mirror and involuntarily slammed into the stone sword beam. As a result, it became the battle between the elder and the stone sword. However, the last time, the elder had willingly fought the stone sword. This time, he was controlled by Jing Daoxian. What's going on? Just now, the stone sword wished it could slay the elder. Why is it dodging and not killing the elder now that there's a chance? Lu Yun was puzzled. Zhou Wen said, "If I'm not wrong, that stone sword should have the power of law. It's the true existence guarding this place." Previously, the stone sword didn't stop Jing Daoxian with all its might because it believed that Jing Daoxian couldn't obtain the item in the furnace and that the elder was the real threat. That's why it continued guarding the palace. However, the stone sword suddenly realized that Jing Daoxian is a greater threat than the elder. Furthermore, it can't finish Jing Daoxian off or stop him from obtaining the item in the furnace. That's why it didn't kill the elder. It hopes that the elder can escape Jing Daoxian's control and form a three-way stalemate, Zhou Wen said after some thought. However, Lu Yun's eyes lit up. He lowered his voice and used a mystic technique to send a voice transmission so that only Zhou Wen could hear him. Now that they're restraining each other, don't we have a chance to snatch the item in the furnace? At that moment, another ball of light lit up in the furnace. It was different from the light that Jing Daoxian had used the yin-yang mirror to imitate. This sword was as warm as jade. In the blazing furnace fire, it gave off a cool feeling. The wind and fire outside the furnace are already so powerful. The flames inside the furnace are even more terrifying. I'm afraid even mythical armor won't be able to withstand it. If we enter, we will be reduced to ashes. How are we to take the item inside? Zhou Wen said. My Star Stealer is peerless in the world. What can I get? However, Lu Yun didn't believe that he couldn't obtain the item in the furnace. Why don't we join forces? I'll be in charge of stealing the item in the furnace. You can use your teleportation ability and the Earth Escape Beast to escape with me. After we leave, we'll split the items equally. Sure. Zhou Wen looked at Jing Daoxian, who was in an intense battle with the stone sword and the elder. Seeing that he didn't react at all, as though he hadn't heard their conversation, he nodded. So go. Chapter 876. When Lu Yun saw that Jing Daoxian was using all his strength to deal with the stone sword and the elder, he didn't have the time to pay attention to him. Without any hesitation, the tip of his finger lit up with mysterious starlight. The moment he waved his fingers, he vanished as though he had passed through a black hole. Ah! Lu Yun's hand flashed back as he let out a tragic cry. The tips of his fingers were burning with white flames. The flesh on his fingertips had been burned away, revealing his white bones. Furthermore, the flames were rapidly spreading. Almost instantly, the flames were about to reach Lu Yun's palm. Lu Yun was also a decisive person. He used his other hand as a saber and sliced off all his burning fingers on the spot. When the 5 fingers landed on the ground, they were instantly burned to ashes. If he had been any slower, he probably wouldn't have been able to keep his arm. Jing Daoxian chuckled and said, "Even a top fire elemental mythical creature wouldn't dare touch the fire in the furnace. You actually dare to reach in to grab something? You have guts." All 5 fingers on Lu Yun's right hand had been severed. When he heard Jing Daoxian's mocking words, he realized that Jing Daoxian had been paying attention to their every move. The reason he hadn't stopped them was because he was certain that they couldn't take out the item inside the furnace. Luyan wasn't angry. All he did was secretly send a voice transmission to Zhou. I touched the item inside the furnace with my hand. It's definitely not a pill. What's that? Zhou asked secretly. I don't know. I only touched a portion of it. It feels like a handle, but I don't know what the handle is. My hand became like this after just touching it. I didn't dare to hold it firmly, Luyan said. Could it be something like a sword? Zhou asked. It's possible. Luyan nodded. He originally thought of taking out the item inside. Even if he couldn't take it out, he could threaten Jing Daoxian to release the soul locked in the yin-yang mirror. Now that he hadn't taken it out and had injured his hand, there was naturally no hope. Let me give it a try. Zhou summoned the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General, but he didn't rush towards the furnace immediately. The flames in the furnace were just too powerful. Even the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General probably couldn't withstand it. Zhou got the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General to rush into the vortex of wind and fire. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General was blown around by the vortex of wind and fire. However, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's fiend-armored Tiger Soul General gradually lit up. The purple flames in his body burned more and more fiercely. Only when the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's fiend-armored armor was burned into an amethyst, and its entire body was enveloped in purple flames did Zhou get it to rush towards the pill furnace. Jing Daoxian only glanced coldly and didn't stop the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General. He blocked the Elder and the Stone Sword, but he let the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General in. When the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General touched the flames, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's fiend-armored body immediately lit up. The originally amethyst-like fiend-armored had already turned purplish-white due to the rapid rise in temperature. There was even magma-like liquid slowly flowing down the armor. With the fiend-armored the fiend-armored, it was he with soul. To yin to, and to with the fire the, with. If he continued entering, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's body would completely melt before he touched the item inside. Therefore, Zhou could only order him to leave the furnace. However, Zhou didn't take him back. He let him stand by the side. The flames on his body were still burning crazily, and the signs of melting improved slightly. Even if a mythical fire elemental king comes, it will be completely melted in the Sun True Flames furnace. It's a pipe dream to rely on a mythical companion beast to take out the item inside, Jing Daoxian said indifferently. The item inside isn't something you can take. Even if a mythical fire elemental king comes, it will be melted in the Sun True Flames furnace. It's a pipe dream to rely on a mythical companion beast to take out the items inside, Jing Daoxian said indifferently. The items inside aren't something you can take. Jing Daoxian had no intention of taking it himself, as though he was waiting for something. The Elder and the Stone Sword had always wanted to kill Jing Daoxian, but they were being toyed with by Jing Daoxian's yin-yang mirror. The Elder had always wanted to escape the yin-yang mirror's control, but the effects weren't ideal. Suddenly, a sound came from the furnace. Wow! Wow! Zhou listened carefully, and his expression changed. He looked at Luyan and asked, "Didn't you say that the item inside might be a weapon? Why is there the sound of a baby crying?" Luyan also heard the sound inside, and was alarmed. "That's not right. I clearly grabbed something that looks like a handle with my hand. How can it be a baby's voice? Could it be that the weapon has turned into a spirit? It's impossible for it to turn into a spirit. It's probably a companion beast, right?" Zhou thought. At that moment, Jing Daoxian finally moved. He held the yin-yang mirror in one hand and used it to block the stone sword and the Elder. With his other hand, he grabbed at the pill furnace. The Elder and the stone sword seemed to know that it was a critical moment. Lines of laws suddenly appeared on the stone sword. Instantly, they tore through the void and stabbed at Jing Daoxian's heart. The Elder also began to risk his life. His entire body turned into a crystalline state as he charged at Jing Daoxian like a crystal man. The power of the yin-yang mirror was unable to control the elder. Jing Daoxian frowned slightly. He didn't have the excess energy to retrieve the item in the furnace. While holding the yin-yang mirror to block the stone sword strike, he used the stone sword's strength to retreat and dodge the crystallized elder's strike. Seeing Jing Daoxian dodge, the crystal elder rushed into the pill furnace, hoping to take out the item inside. However, the stone sword suddenly turned around and slashed at the elder's head, forcing him to retreat. Jing Daoxian rushed towards the pill furnace again, but he was stopped by the elder and the stone sword. The two of them fought above the pill furnace, leaving Lu Yun and Zhou Wen dazzled. Even with Zhou Wen's eyesight, he could barely see their movements. There were many details he couldn't see clearly. The stone sword techniques were standard. Every strike seemed to be within expectations, but it made one have no choice but to face its existence. There was no way to take advantage of it. The elder's movements were very strange. His entire body was like crystal, but his movement techniques were ever-changing. He looked like a ghost. Jing Daoxian was very good at borrowing strength. His strength was far inferior to the stone sword and the elder, but with the power of the yin-yang mirror, he could also draw the stone sword and the elder's strength. He forcefully restrained the stone sword and the elder, preventing anyone from taking out the item in the pill furnace. Bam! The three forces clashed, sending Jing Daoxian, the crystallized elder, and the stone sword flying into the vortex of wind and fire. Now's the time. Without any hesitation, Zhou Wen ordered the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General to charge at the Sun True Flames furnace again. At the same time, he flew close to the mouth of the furnace. Under Zhou Wen's orders, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General plunged in. Its body began to rapidly melt amidst the terrifying flames, unable to withstand the Sun True Flames inside. It looked like it would turn into a pool of magma before it could even touch the item inside. Jing Daoxian and the elder knew that it was impossible for Zhou Wen and company to take out the item inside the pill furnace, so they ignored them. Seeing that Zhou Wen still wanted to use the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General to fight, they weren't too worried, although they couldn't rush back in time to stop him. Just as the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General was about to melt, Zhou Wen, who had already reached the mouth of the furnace, suddenly summoned a banana fan and slapped it. Chapter 877. The moment the grand Yin wind, augmented by the three realms' best wind, rushed into the furnace, the flames in the furnace that were howling with wind and fire immediately converged. The airflow also became much calmer and quieter. At the spot where the wind and fire converged, something appeared. Zhou Wen revealed a look of surprise when he saw what it was. However, he didn't hesitate. The fiend-armored Tiger Soul General had already rushed over and grabbed the item before rushing out of the furnace. In the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General's hand was a golden banana fan. It was resplendent with a golden glow that was as dazzling as the sun. The shape of the banana fan was somewhat similar to the Banana Fairy's fan shape, but it wasn't exactly the same. There was a strong flow of wind and fire essence energy on its body, making it even more different from the Banana Fairy. Jing Daoxian, the elder, and the stone sword never expected Zhou Wen to really take out the item inside the pill furnace. After being taken aback for a moment, the stone sword and the elder rushed towards the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General who held the Sun Banana fan, hoping to snatch it back. With a thought, the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General returned to Zhou Wen's body. The Sun Banana fan also landed in front of him. Zhou Wen held the fan handle and could feel the heat from the fan through the dragon scale armor. Seeing the elder and the stone sword rush over, Zhou Wen held the Sun Banana fan and fanned it at them. Immediately, a scorching wind blew out. Wherever the hot wind passed, flames immediately burned. What was even more terrifying was that the wind and fire in the entire underground space moved with the Sun Banana fan, transforming into a terrifying fire dragon that swept towards the elder and the stone sword. The Elder and the Stone Sword used the power of their terror transformation to face the fire dragon. Boom! The entire underground world shook. Although the fire dragon was defeated by the Elder and the Stone Sword, they were also sent flying by the power of wind and fire. Jing Daoxian silently came close to Zhou Wen. The yin-yang mirror in his hand flashed as Zhou Wen's soul shadow appeared. He wanted to control Zhou Wen's body. Before Jing Daoxian could control Zhou Wen's body, Zhou Wen threw the sun banana fan in his hand. At the same time, the other banana fan in his hand flew out, transforming into a girl sitting on a banana leaf in midair. She reached out to grab the sun banana fan. Jing Daoxian, you can use your soul to control my body, but you can't control my companion beasts. At most, we'll split up. If I can't defeat you, I'll just destroy that fan. No one can have it, Zhou Wen said. Zhou would originally believe that he had at least the bargaining chip, but what happened next completely exceeded his expectations. After Banana Fairy held the Sun Banana Fan, it transformed into wisps of golden wind and fire that fused into the banana leaf beneath Banana Fairy. Golden meridians appeared on the originally emerald-like green banana leaves. Before Zhou Wen could react, a gust of wind erupted from Banana Fairy's body, enveloping her body before returning to Zhou Wen. It's evolved. Zhou Wen was somewhat dumbfounded. He originally wanted to use the Sun Banana Fan's power to resist Jing Daoxian, the Elder, and the Stone Sword. In this land of wind and fire, the Sun Banana Fan had a natural advantage. It could be said that this was its home ground. However, now that the Sun Banana Fan had been absorbed by the banana, it had entered an evolutionary state. Instantly, Zhou Wen's previous plans fell through. Seeing Jing Daoxian, the Elder, and the Stone Sword staring at him, Zhou Wen felt somewhat awkward. He had never used Banana Fairy, who could restrain the power of wind and fire, hoping that she could have the effect of a surprise attack at a critical moment. Now, she had indeed become a surprise attack, but this was too strange. Even Zhou Wen hadn't expected it. He felt his lips turn bitter. With the Sun Banana Fan gone, the Stone Sword was already enraged. Laws appeared on the sword as it attacked Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen didn't dare take the Terrorgrade attack head-on. He used the Civilized Country ring to teleport to the other side, but just as he teleported, the Elder's crystal-like palm had already grabbed his neck, forcing Zhou Wen to teleport again. Civilized Country was much stronger than Lost Country, but it could only teleport 10 times. It was absolutely impossible to finish off the Elder and the Stone Sword in 10 teleportations. Furthermore, there was Jing Daoxian eyeing him covetously. Zhou Wen's chances were even slimmer. Transfer your companion beast to me. I'll help you transcend this calamity, Jing Daoxian said with a smile. Zhou Wen didn't believe Jing Daoxian at all. Seeing the Elder and the Stone Sword charge at him again, he didn't hesitate and activated Civilized Country. However, this time, he didn't use teleportation but the location-based teleportation function. The dials in the ghost face's eyes spun as Zhou Wen instantly vanished with Ye in his arms. Bam! The location-based teleportation ability of Civilized Country required a location in advance. In the future, no matter where he was, he could return there by activating the location-based teleportation function. As Zhou Wen had only figured it out not long ago, he had set the coordinates not far from Mount Dragon Tiger. He originally thought of escaping the founding Emperor tomb first before thinking of a way to snatch back the soul controlled by the yin-yang mirror. However, to his surprise, he failed to teleport out. He fell out in front of the founding Emperor tomb's entrance. Damn it, I can't teleport out of the founding Emperor tomb. Zhou Wen didn't have the time to blame others. If he couldn't get out, Jing Daoxian and company would catch up to him sooner or later. He put on the invisibility cloak and switched his essence energy art to the Ancient Sovereign Sutra. He allowed the Defy Ancient Sovereign to fuse with him before rushing towards the pillar of light that the Elder had come out from. After taking a few steps, he felt as though some force was summoning his body, making him want to rush in the direction of the palace. Zhou immediately got the defy ancient sovereign to take over his body and forcefully control it to continue charging forward without being affected by the soul in the yin-yang mirror. The pillar of light had already vanished. When Zhou rushed there, he saw that it was an inconspicuous building in the ancient city. He didn't hesitate to rush in. The stone house wasn't very big, and it looked very simple. There wasn't a bed, nor was there a table. There was only a stone table, and there were many bamboo slips on a shelf next to it. After passing through this room, there was another room inside. Zhou walked in and saw that it was an alchemy room. There were all sorts of tools, such as pill furnaces. There were also many pills that had already been refined and stored in bottles. Zhou didn't stand on ceremony as he stored all the items inside into the chaos bead, regardless of whether they were useful or not. There were also the bamboo slips that Zhou stored. After all, it would be a waste not to take them. Perhaps they would be useful in the future. Just as he finished storing them, he heard a whistling sound coming from the ancient city. It was likely the stone sword rushing out of the hall. However, the stone sword didn't discover Zhou. It knew that Zhou definitely couldn't leave, so it constantly flew through the city in a bid to find him. Chapter 878. Soon, the old man also rushed out. After he came out, he went straight to his room. When he rushed in, he saw that the stone room was already in a mess. Nothing was left. Even the pill furnace, medicinal pestle, and other tools were gone. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. If I don't tear you into pieces, I won't be able to quell the hatred in my heart. The old man roared at the sky and rushed out, searching for Zhou like a madman. Jing Daoxian and Lu Yun rushed out one after another. They were also searching for Zhou, but he seemed to have vanished into thin air. They couldn't find him no matter how hard they tried. Could Zhou have already escaped? Lu Yun asked Jing Daoxian. Impossible. Without this Emperor Qin sword, it's impossible for him to leave. He must still be in the founding Emperor tomb, Jing Daoxian said as he held the Emperor Qin sword. The stone sword and the elder also knew that it was impossible for Zhou to escape, so they searched every corner of the ancient city, vowing to find him. When the elder rushed out, Zhou had already used the invisibility cloak's 3-minute invisibility. He did the opposite and rushed back to the hall. He passed through the black water and returned to the mountain in the underground space. At this moment, the wind in the underground space had already stopped, and the fire in the Sun True Flames furnace had already been extinguished. From the looks of it, the flames in the Sun True Flames cauldron are emitted by the Sun Banana fan. The cauldron itself doesn't have any flames. Zhou sized up the Sun True Flames furnace, hoping to see if he could take it away. However, Zhou's heart suddenly palpitated as he stared intently at the Sun True Flames furnace in front of him. Jing Daoxian crawled out of the Sun True Flames furnace and smiled at Zhou. Didn't you already leave? Zhou stared at Jing Daoxian. It's just an avatar illusion. You can't leave the founding Emperor tomb, so you can only hide here. I've been waiting for you here for a long time, said Jing Daoxian. You relied on the soul in the yin-yang mirror to sense my location, right? Zhou asked Jing Daoxian. That's not important. What's important is that the alchemist and the great Qin Dermic sword want to kill you. The only person who can save you from the Qin Emperor Mausoleum is me, said Jing Daoxian. Conditions? Zhou asked directly. That companion beast, Jing Daoxian said. Impossible. Zhou knew that even if he transferred Banana Fairy to Jing Daoxian, he might not be able to survive, so he never considered doing so. I'm not asking you to transfer the companion beast to me, but to agree to use the companion beast's abilities to help me do something in the future, Jing Daoxian said. What? Zhou asked. Of course it's to refine pills. Although there is no true elixir of immortality in this world, there are some pills that can prolong my life. Not only do you need special ingredients to refine those pills, but the furnace and fire also have special requirements. Since the Sun Banana fan has been absorbed by your pet must have similar powers. Let her replace it. As Jing Daoxian spoke, he summoned a cloth bag and pulled it towards the Sun True Flames furnace. It was sucked into the tiny cloth bag. Zhou was still hesitating when Jing Daoxian said, "You don't have time anymore. The Great Qin Dharma sword is easy to fool, but that alchemist isn't that easy to fool. He will soon react and return here to capture you. I don't think you can teleport a second time, right?" "All right, I agree. However, apart from helping me leave, you have to release Lu Yun's and my souls," Zhou said. Jing Daoxian didn't say a word as he threw the Emperor Qin sword in his hand to Zhou. Then, with a spin of the yin-yang mirror in his hand, Zhou's blurry image vanished. Zhou could sense that his mind seemed to have relaxed a lot. He felt indescribably comfortable. "With that Emperor Qin sword, I believe you should be able to leave the Imperial Tomb yourself," Jing Daoxian said. "What about you?" Zhou asked with a frown. "If I want to leave, there's no place that can hold me back," Jing Daoxian said indifferently. "He's here. You don't have time." Zhou had already sensed that he had rushed into the underground space, so he asked Jing Daoxian, "When are you going to refine pills?" "I'll naturally look for you when the time comes," Jing Daoxian said with a smile. Jing Daoxian said with a smile, "You have grown faster than I imagined. Or rather, the Lost Immortal Sutra has exceeded my expectations. I'm really looking forward to how far it can take you. Before that, you mustn't die." With that said, Jing Daoxian spun the yin-yang mirror in his hand and shot it at the elder who had already rushed into the underground space. "Let's go. I'll always be looking forward to our next meeting. I hope you can give me even more surprises the next time we meet." Zhou glanced at Jing Daoxian and used teleportation to rush to the exit of the underground space. As for the angry elder, he was held back by Jing Daoxian, preventing him from chasing after him. Zhou rushed out of the palace invisibly and headed for the ancient city's entrance. Just as he left the palace, he saw the Sword of Law rush back to the hall. From the looks of it, it had also thought things through. Unfortunately, it was already too late. When Zhou rushed to the ancient city's entrance, he realized that Lu Yun was standing there. He was somewhat surprised. Seeing Zhou appear, Lu Yun smiled and said, "I knew it. If you want to leave, this is definitely the only way." Zhou wasn't in the mood to talk to him. He stabbed the Emperor Qin's sword into the hole in the door, and the barrier that separated the ancient city from the outside immediately vanished. The two of them rushed out without any hesitation. After passing through the Mercury Sea, Zhou used the Earth Elemental Beast to bring Lu Yun out of the founding Emperor Tomb. "I've finally come out alive." Lu Yun looked at the starry sky outside and heaved a long sigh of relief. "Farewell. I hope we won't meet again in the future." Zhou rode the Earth Elemental Beast and was about to use Earth Escape. He was afraid that the Elder would chase after him again, so it was best to stay as far away from the founding Emperor Tomb as possible. "You were the one who got Jing Daoxian to release my soul, right?" Lu Yun stopped Zhou. "It should have been released by Jing Daoxian in passing," Zhou said. Lu Yun didn't say a word as he extended his hand and threw something at Zhou. "This is something I took out from the pill furnace. There are a total of 2. I'll give you 1. Play with it." "Didn't you not touch anything?" Zhou caught the item and said in surprise. Zhou sized up the item in his hand. It was a purple bronze ball that looked like it was made of the same material as the Sun True Flames furnace. It was about the size of a billiard ball. There were strange and mysterious patterns on it, making the bronze ball look ancient and mysterious. A thief doesn't leave empty-handed. I don't dare say anything else, but I've never returned empty-handed in my life. I didn't manage to take out that crappy fan, but I didn't return empty-handed. Lu Yun waved his hand and turned around to leave quickly. Moments later, he disappeared. This fellow, when did he take it out? Even Jing Daoxian didn't notice it. This thing should be from the Sun True Flames furnace, right? I wonder what it's used for. Zhou sized it up for a while, but he couldn't figure out what use it had. He put it away. Chapter 879. Zhou rode the Earth Escape Beast and left the founding Emperor Tomb with Ya-Er. On the way, Zhou attempted to take a picture of the Emperor Qin sword with his phone to see if he could get it in-game. Otherwise, it would be useless if he couldn't enter the dungeon. After the phone entered camera mode, it automatically locked onto the Emperor Qin sword. With a click, the Emperor Qin sword disappeared into thin air, and there was an additional Emperor Qin sword in game. However, in the game, the sword of Emperor Qin wasn't called the Sword of Emperor Qin, but the key to the Imperial Mausoleum. After Zhou stabbed the Emperor Qin sword into the ancient city's door, it automatically vanished. The game door opened and didn't close again. Even if Zhou respawned again, he didn't need to use the Emperor Qin sword to open the door. As Zhou rushed on his way, he grinded the Founding Emperor Tomb dungeon. The monsters in the Mercury Sea were extremely difficult to kill. Ordinary attacks were useless against them. Their bodies were somewhat similar to water elemental creatures. Even if their bodies were sliced apart, they could reform. Furthermore, as long as it was in the Mercury Sea, it seemed to possess infinite strength. Zhou was momentarily unable to think of a way to kill it. Zhou killed the bronze men and the 12 gold men in the city again. However, this time, Zhou didn't only use the strength of the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General. He summoned Tyrant Behemoth, Torch Dragon, and other companion beasts. Together with the fiend-armored Tiger Soul General, he killed the 12 gold men much faster. When he killed the 7th gold man, another dimensional crystal dropped. Furthermore, it was an Essence Energy Skill Crystal. The requirements were the same as the previous one. Apart from that, the 12 gold colossi did not drop anything. Zhou's constitution didn't meet the requirements of 41 primordial energy and 41 constitution, so he could only give up reluctantly. He walked around the ancient city and went to the stone house where the old necromancer lived. However, he did not see anything there. Clearly, the old man was not a creature from the instance dungeon. Could it be as Jing Daoxian said? That elder is a human alchemist from the founding emperor's era? Then, how did he survive in the mausoleum until modern times? How did he fuse with the Guardian? Zhou was somewhat worried. If that fellow ran out of the tomb, he would probably come looking for trouble. I hope Banana Fairy can quickly evolve to the Terrorgrade. Without the power of the Terrorgrade, it will ultimately be difficult for her to fight a Terrorgrade existence head-on. Zhou looked at Banana Fairy's tattoo and saw that it was still chaotic. Clearly, she hadn't completed her evolution. The palace door opened with a forceful push. However, the Great Qin Dermic sword inside was just too powerful. Even Tyrant Behemoth had been killed by the Great Qin Dermic sword. Its absolute strength was almost useless in front of the Great Qin Dermic sword. The Arch really didn't lie to me. Only a Terrorgrade power can fight a Terrorgrade power. This is no longer a matter of stats. Zhou couldn't resolve the problem with the Great Qin Dharma sword, so all he could do was wait for the cloak's invisibility to recover. He first used the invisibility cloak to pass through the temple and see if there was anything different from reality. It wasn't easy for him to wait for the invisibility cloak's wheel of destiny to recover. Zhou passed through the hall invisibly without triggering the Great Qin Dharma sword's attack. After passing through the hall filled with bamboo slips, Han Sun went to the back and realized that this place was a little different from reality. Where the black pool should have been, there was a strange bronze tool. The bronze tool was more than 2 meters tall and looked like a large jar. It completely covered where the black pool should have been. Hansen didn't know if there was a pool below. At the mouth of the jar, one could see red soil and a man's head. The man was like a flower that was planted in the bronze jar. Just as Zhou was sizing up the head on the bronze jar, the head's eyes suddenly opened and glanced at the blood-colored avatar. Then, the blood-colored avatar collapsed and died. The game screen went black. In the founding emperor tomb, in reality, Jing Daoxian should have shattered the bronze jar after entering. How did he do it? Zhou didn't have a yin-yang mirror, so he naturally couldn't make an attempt. Zhou tried a few times, but he was killed by the strange man in the bronze jar every time. Knowing that the strange man was most likely a Terrorgrade existence, he had no choice but to give up. All he did was grind the bronze men and gold men outside. The 9 black dragons in the underground sea respawned once every 9 days. These gold men respawned once every 12 days. The pattern was very clear. It took a day to respawn a mythical creature. The more there were, the slower the respawn. Devourer, Great Qin Dharma sword, and the strange man in the jar. If I want to kill these fellows, I'll probably have to wait for Banana Fairy to complete her evolution. I wonder what Banana Fairy's terror transformation will look like. Zhou was momentarily unable to imagine it. Creatures in their terror transformation basically had obvious physical characteristics. They were different from normal creatures at a glance. On this day, Zhou brought Ye to an unfamiliar city. He originally wanted to take Ye to eat some delicacies and buy some clothes, but when they walked to the street, he saw the black cube in the middle of the street light up. The ranking battle began again. However, this time, Zhou didn't see Wang Mingyuan on the cube screen. The person guarding the divine tree was a monster with a snake's tail and human body. Where did teacher go? Was he implicated because I took away the divine fruit last time? Zhou had an ominous feeling. Just as Zhou was pondering over it, he suddenly saw the cube's screen glow brightly. A creature appeared on the screen. That's Zhou's pupils constricted when he saw the creature's appearance. Even if companion beasts like true dragons and true phoenixes were on the rankings, Zhou wouldn't find it strange. However, the creature on the rankings was a human. To be precise, it was a human who had contracted a guardian and was wearing a guardian's armor. Humans and guardians can also participate in the battle? Does that mean that it's impossible for a single companion beast to reach the top? Zhou sized up the human on the screen and saw a name appear at the top of the rankings. Great Sky Fiend. Zhou muttered to himself as his gaze returned to the human. Unfortunately, his entire body was wrapped in black armor, making it impossible to see what he looked like. He couldn't even tell if he was a man or a woman. I wonder if a pure human can participate in the ranking battle without contracting a guardian? Zhou wanted to see why Wang Mingyuan wasn't under the divine tree. However, if he couldn't participate in the battle himself, he couldn't use multiple companion beasts to fight. Even an existence like Primordial Sword Immortal wouldn't be able to obtain first place with a single companion beast. Teacher, what happened? Zhou looked at Great Sky Fiend on the screen, but his mind wasn't on it. He still remembered that Wang Mingyuan had secretly warned him not to go there again when he went to retrieve the divine fruit. Chapter 880. It was somewhat different from the first ranking battle. The ranking had just been released. In less than an hour, all sorts of pets had filled up the rankings. Many of the companion beasts on the rankings had already been seen in the previous ranking battle. However, Primordial Sword Immortal and Fairy Immortal Goo, which had very eye-catching performances, weren't on the rankings. Zhou's Tyrant Behemoth naturally wasn't on the rankings either. Currently, Great Sky Fiend was still ranked first. No matter what companion beast was on the rankings, it couldn't shake his position. This was also within Zhou's expectations. Great Sky Fiend didn't just refer to a guardian. There were also the humans that had fused with him and the various companion beasts that humans had. Their overall combat strength was far from what a single companion beast could compare with. Unless there was a similarly contracted guardian on the rankings, it was almost impossible for ordinary companion beasts to surpass Great Sky Fiend in terms of overall combat strength. The various parts of the Federation were also discussing what Great Sky Fiend was. Most humans didn't know of the existence of guardians, but no matter how one looked at it, Great Sky Fiend didn't look like a companion beast. Zhou didn't dare stay in one place for too long. After staying for a night, he left the city. It's already the fourth day. Even if that alchemist comes out, he probably won't be able to find me. As he walked, Zhou thought to himself. Suddenly, he was taken aback as his expression turned odd. My first thought is that I'm actually worried about that alchemist and not Jing Daoxian. This is just too dangerous. Now, Zhou suddenly understood why Lord Alcohol and Xia Zhihuang believed in Jing Daoxian, who was known as a devil. This person was a very complicated contradiction. He did whatever he wanted and killed people without batting an eyelid. But sometimes he had a charm that made it obvious that he was evil, but there was no way to associate him with the word evil. Zhou was alarmed. He knew that such thoughts were very dangerous. He had to be more vigilant. Jing Daoxian was more dangerous than the old alchemist. Ding! Just as Zhou was pondering over it, a pleasant chime sounded in-game. Looking down, Zhou couldn't help but be overjoyed. A baby tiger had dropped in game. Another baby tiger has finally spawned. Zhou looked at its stats. It wasn't much different from the previous two babies. What should I combine the baby tiger with? Because the baby tiger's luck could not be stacked, it could only be combined. However, with the lesson of the fiend-armored tiger soul general, Zhou didn't dare randomly fuse them. He first matched the baby tiger with his various companion beasts and checked the contract. There were quite a number of companion beasts with high contractual degrees, but Zhou didn't immediately decide on how to fuse them. Let's put it aside for now. Zhou decided to give it some thought. After all, it was just too difficult to kill a baby tiger. Suddenly, Zhou recalled that he had learned the method to transfer companion beasts from Lu Yun. He thought to himself, it's fine if the baby tiger doesn't agree. I could try transferring it, but who should I transfer it to? Now, Zhou only had by his side, but it was hard to say if was considered a living person. He didn't know if she could use companion beasts like ordinary people. Can you use companion beasts? Zhou thought for a moment and decided to ask her first. Yeah. Or looked at Zhou in confusion. Clearly, she didn't know either. How about this? Let's give it a try. Zhou decided to go to the city to buy a mortal stage companion egg for to see if she could incubate it. If she could incubate and use companion beasts, Zhou could give her some of the companion beasts he didn't need. While she had more ability to protect herself, she could also control those companion beasts to help. When he arrived in the city, Zhou found a companion egg shop and bought the weakest mortal stage companion egg. It was much more expensive than a legendary one. The reason he chose the weakest was that Zhou was afraid that hatching a companion egg required too much essence energy. Er's body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Although she had mythical mental strength, her body was still that of a child's. If the essence energy in her body was insufficient, something might happen. Give it a try. Inject your essence energy into the companion egg. Zhou handed the companion egg to Do you know what essence energy is? Zhou thought for a moment before asking As used to be a Kamene, he didn't know if Kamene cultivated an essence energy art. Nodded and took the companion egg. Soon, the companion egg in her hand hatched and transformed into a stream of light that turned into a tattoo on Er's body. I can really use companion beasts. Zhou thought for a moment and transferred the baby tiger to He wanted to have more luck. It could also be considered a passive increase in his luck. After all, had always been with him. The baby tiger successfully transferred to Er's body. What Zhou, when sacrificed, was only a star in the pocket universe. Furthermore, as the pocket universe evolved, the star could still be reborn in the future. This sky-stealing, sun-shifting art is awesome. With this essence energy art, wouldn't I be able to exchange companion beasts however I want? Unfortunately, not everyone knows the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art. Otherwise, I can exchange companion beasts at will. Zhou marveled inwardly as he liked this essence energy art more and more. Zhou transferred a few more companion beasts to and told her how to use the abilities of these companion beasts. Was just too smart. As long as Zhou told her what to do, she could use it perfectly without making any mistakes. You're really smart. Zhou rubbed Er's head. Zhou took a huge detour. When they arrived at a city again, the first on the rankings was still Great Sky Fiend. Apart from Great Sky Fiend, no other guardians were on the rankings. There shouldn't be only one guardian. At the very least, Jiang Yin has fairy burial. Why didn't he participate in the battle? Zhou was puzzled. However, thinking that the ranking battle hadn't been going on for long, and there was still a long time, it was also possible that some guardians wanted to secretly conserve their strength and hadn't chosen to fight. From the looks of it, the Battle of Guardians is about to officially surface. Zhou continued on his way with After walking so much and going to so many unfamiliar places, Glimmer's evolution speed couldn't be raised. Although it was constantly improving, the improvement was rather slow. Zhou walked all the way north, planning on heading to the North District where the ultimate family clan was. There were many dimensional creatures he had never seen before and many novel dungeons. Since he had to walk around, he might as well download some new dungeons. However, before he could even walk out of the East District, Zhou saw an elder slowly walking over on a flat road. Although he was still a distance away from the elder, Zhou could already see that the elder was the alchemist in the founding emperor tomb. Not only had he run out, but he had also found Zhou when after so many days. Chapter 881. Without a word, Zhou rode the earth elemental beast and used earth escape to escape. However, after the earth elemental beast's earth escape ended, it realized that the elder had also escaped from the soil beside it. He had also used earth escape to follow. Zhou cursed inwardly as he made the earth elemental beast use earth escape again. This time, Zhou chose to let the earth elemental beast expend all its essence energy in one go to carry out a long-distance earth escape that spanned hundreds of kilometers. Just as he came out of the ground, he saw the old man walk out from a big tree next to him, like a ghost hidden in the trees. What escape technique? Zhou felt a chill run down his spine. Not only did the elder know the earth escape technique, but he also knew the wood escape technique. If not for the fact that he couldn't use escape techniques in the Imperial Mausoleum, Zhou wouldn't have escaped so easily. You can't escape. The elder stared coldly at Zhou. He wasn't in a hurry at all as he slowly approached Zhou like a cat catching a mouse. Without any hesitation, Zhou used civilized country's teleportation ability. At the same time the teleportation ended, the invisibility cloak's invisibility power was activated. After activating the invisibility cloak, he teleported several times and changed his direction of escape. But soon, Zhou realized that the elder had chased after him again. In front of the elder hung something that resembled a hairpin. No matter which direction the invisible Zhou fled in, the hairpin would point in his direction. The elder clearly couldn't see Zhou, but with the hairpin's guidance, Zhou couldn't escape. Zhou was extremely anxious. He only had 3 minutes of invisibility. If he couldn't shake off the elder in 3 minutes, ordinary invisibility was useless against such an expert. I have less than 2 minutes of invisibility left. If I don't destroy that hairpin, I won't be able to escape. Zhou made a prompt decision and stopped running. He suddenly changed his position and used his invisibility to slash at the hairpin floating beside the elder with immortal slaying. The elder chased in the direction pointed by the hairpin, but the hairpin could only point in a direction, not a location. He never expected Zhou to have the guts to turn around and charge back. By the time he realized it, Zhou had already arrived in front of the hairpin. The light concealment sword slashed at the hairpin with the power of immortal slaying. Almost at the same time, the cold-eyed elder struck out a crystal-like palm at Zhou's chest. It was so fast that it was impossible to dodge. Zhou had no intention of dodging. The light concealment sword slashed at the hairpin, slicing it into two. As for Zhou's chest, it was destroyed by the elder's palm, turning into a puff of white smoke. When the white smoke dissipated, Zhou had vanished. A tattered paper talisman floated to the ground. There's actually a substitute talisman. The elder frowned slightly as he searched for Zhou, but he didn't discover anything. Without the hairpin, the elder couldn't find Zhou's location. You can't escape. The elder took out a few copper coins, condensed his primordial energy, and threw them to the ground. Then, he pinched his fingers to calculate, as though he was trying to figure out Zhou's location. However, after calculating for a while, a puzzled look appeared on his face. Strange, why is my 6 recombinant trigram art unable to divine his location? Zhou was frantically running for his life when he suddenly felt something tremble. On careful look, he realized that it was something he was wearing. It was the 3 copper coins and red string that Zhou had taken out of the Pichio's stomach when he killed it. Later, he took it out for to play with, so he wore it on her hand. At that moment, the copper coin automatically trembled for some unknown reason. Zhou didn't dare stop as he continued fleeing with Thankfully, the elder didn't chase after him again. The invisibility period had passed, so Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. All this time, he had been drawing substitute talismans whenever he had time. Up to now, he had only succeeded in drawing 2. He had just used one, so now he only had 1 left. Zhou didn't dare stay any longer. He summoned the great Might Vajra Bull and made it run into the mountains at its fastest speed. Zhou had the Pocket Universe's positioning system, so he wasn't afraid of getting lost. He was just afraid that he would bump into an unknown dimensional zone. However, at this stage, he couldn't care less. All he could do was choose hidden places to escape. After traversing one mountain after another, Zhou didn't know how far he had run. The path was long gone, but there was a small river. Zhou followed the river. There were large peach blossom forests on both sides of the river. The peach blossoms fell into the river and flowed along the river, making it look especially beautiful. After traveling for more than 10 kilometers, he reached the end of the river. In front of him was a mountain. Just as Zhou was about to climb over the mountain, he saw a gap in the mountain that he could pass through. He could vaguely see the light on the other side of the mountain. Zhou didn't hesitate as he passed through the mountain gap. The mountain gap was extremely narrow at first, but after walking for a short distance, it gradually widened. Soon, Zhou passed through the mountain and saw a beautiful valley. There were many wooden houses and bamboo buildings in the valley. There were bamboo forests and flowers everywhere, and there were also large peach blossom forests. The wooden houses and bamboo buildings dotted the area like a paradise on earth. What's going on? Zhou felt that something was amiss. This was because after he passed through the mountain gap, his pocket universe couldn't locate him. This place, could it be the legendary place? Zhou sized up the valley with an odd expression and suddenly thought of an article he had learned in school. The article was called The Peach Blossom Spring. It was about a fisherman who mistakenly entered a peach blossom garden. There, he saw a beautiful village that was isolated from the rest of the world. However, when he went out, he couldn't find the peach blossom forest or the village. No matter how Zhou looked at it, it seemed identical to the place described in Peach Blossom Spring. The only difference was that in the Peach Blossom Spring in the article, there was a group of preteen villagers who had taken refuge because of the war. However, although there were wooden houses and buildings here, Zhou didn't see a single person. He didn't even see a chicken or dog. He used Truth Listener's ability to scan the valley, but he felt that there was a fog shrouding the valley. He could see it with his eyes, but he couldn't see anything with Truth Listener's ability. Regardless of whether this is Peach Blossom Spring or not, it's definitely a dimensional zone. Zhou was somewhat curious as he summoned a group of poison bats and got them to fly into the village to scout and see what was inside. However, after the poison bats left Zhou's line of sight, he suddenly lost contact with them. This made Zhou's expression turn ugly. Is anyone there? Zhou called out a few times into the depths of the valley, but no one responded. Instead, the valley echoed again and again. Is anyone there? Is anyone there? Is anyone? Chapter 882. This place was too strange. Zhou wanted to retreat the way he had come, but in a blink of an eye, the crack in a mountain wall he had come from had vanished. Behind him was a complete mountain wall. There was no way out. Zhou reached out to touch the mountain wall. It was a real rock and not an illusion. Feeling that something was amiss, Zhou summoned a poison bat to see if it could fly out of the valley. However, when the poison bat flew out of the valley, it seemed to hit something and fell from the sky. This outcome didn't surprise Zhou. If this was really a dimensional zone, it was normal for him to be unable to fly out of it. How can I leave this dimensional zone? Seeing that there was no way out, Zhou had no choice but to walk in, hoping to find a way to leave the dimensional zone. He summoned different companion beasts to scout ahead. There were runic heavy-armored knights, flying ants, and some small green-furred goo. The valley was as beautiful as a fairyland, but there were no living creatures. There were no living auras in the wooden huts and bamboo buildings. Under Zhou's control, a green-furred goo burrowed into the wooden hut closest to him. He realized that there were all kinds of daily decorations in the wooden hut. However, they looked very ancient and didn't look like something modern people used. Furthermore, it was empty. There was no one inside, nor were there any dimensional creatures. Zhou had no choice but to continue exploring. Strangely, there were no creatures in the entire valley. The poison bat that he had lost contact with had also vanished. After circling the entire valley, he realized that it wasn't small. There was even a stream surrounding it. The green bamboo and red flower pavilions were exceptionally beautiful. Beside the stream, there was a huge peach tree. The flowers on the tree were bright and beautiful, and it looked very beautiful. However, for some reason, there were no other peach trees beside the huge peach tree. The other peach trees were a distance away from the huge peach tree, making it look a little lonely. After circling the valley twice, it was like an otherworldly paradise. If it wasn't for the fact that his companion beasts would suddenly lose contact with him after leaving a certain range, this might have been a good place. There must be something in this valley. Where are they hiding? Zhou searched for a long time, but failed to find a way out. Similarly, he didn't find the companion beast that he had lost contact with. There was no point in pacing around, so Zhou sat down to rest. At the same time, he considered the various possibilities. Zhou didn't know if this was the legendary Peach Blossom Spring, but everything here was different from the legendary Peach Blossom Spring. Time ticked by as Zhou failed to think of a way to leave. Although he had tried to force his way out, it was useless. The Earth Elemental Beast's Earth Escape technique could only circle in the valley, unable to escape outside. The mountain wall seemed to have a life of its own. The whole dugout by Tyrant Behemoth would quickly fill up. The sky gradually darkened, and a round moon rose in the sky. An abnormal sound suddenly sounded in the originally silent valley. Zhou listened attentively and realized that it was the sound of a flute. After identifying the direction, the flute sound seemed to be coming from the stream. Zhou searched the valley for an entire day without discovering any clues. Now that he had suddenly heard the flute, he naturally wanted to take a look. Even if it was a dimensional creature, it would at least know what to do. It wouldn't be as aimless as it was now. Zhou carefully came to the stream and saw a person in white sitting under the huge peach blossom tree from afar. He held a flute in his hand, and the sound came from a flute. From where Zhou was, he could only see the person's side profile. He was dressed in white, and his long hair was tied up. As the peach blossoms fell, he gently blew the bamboo flute, making him look like an immortal. It's impossible for there to be anyone in such a place. It should be a humanoid, dimensional creature. I wonder how strong he is. Zhou stood motionless as he sized up the white-robed man from afar. After the tune ended, the white-robed man put down the bamboo flute in his hand and turned to look at Zhou. "Since you're here, why don't you come over and have a drink?" Only then did Zhou see that the white-robed man had delicate features. On the ground beside him was an alcohol flask and cup made of jade. Is he really not human? Zhou was somewhat puzzled when he saw that his appearance and actions resembled a human's. Seeing that Zhou didn't move, the white-robed man picked up the alcohol flask and cup and poured himself a cup. As he drank, he looked at the moon in the sky and said, "Life is so short. Why seek trouble?" The white-robed man enjoyed the moon and drank, but Zhou couldn't hold it in any longer. He stared at him and asked, "Who are you?" "Immortal," the white-robed man answered. "What immortal?" Zhou asked with a frown. "Immortals are immortals. Carefree, happy, and carefree," the white-robed man said. Seeing that he couldn't get the gist of the question, Zhou asked again, "Do you know how to leave this place?" "Why do you want to leave? Isn't this place good? It's aloof from worldly affairs and without worries. Is there a better place in the world than this?" The white-robed man said as he drank. "This place is very good, but I don't like it here," Zhou said. "You can't leave. This is an immortal realm, a place isolated from the mortal world. Unless you die, no one can leave this place," the white-robed man said. Zhou naturally refused to believe the white-robed man's words. As long as it was a dimensional zone, there was definitely a way to leave. Zhou was somewhat hesitant. He He didn't know if he should immediately attack the white-robed man. This white-robed man looked human, but he was undoubtedly a dimensional creature. However, with his high intelligence, his strength was definitely extraordinary. Zhou was hesitating if he should wait for Banana Fairy to complete her evolution before taking action. After some thought, Zhou looked at the white-robed man. He wanted to say something, but he was surprised to discover that the white-robed man had disappeared from under the peach blossom tree. Zhou called out a few times, but no one responded. He searched the valley again, but he didn't see the white-robed man again. He waited until dawn, but he didn't see any living creatures. What kind of dimensional zone is this? Zhou was somewhat depressed. If a group of dimensional creatures pounced at him, Zhou knew what to do, but now he didn't know what to do. This won't do. The next time I see that white-robed man, I have to think of a way to subdue him and figure out how to leave this place. Zhou thought for a moment and summoned Explosive Fiend Man to make some arrangements in the valley. A dimensional creature with such high intelligence was definitely not someone easy to deal with. Zhou had no choice but to make preparations in advance, just in case. Chapter 883. However, in the next few days, Zhou didn't see the white-robed man again. The entire valley was empty, making Zhou suspect that this dimensional zone was a prison specially used to imprison people. Thankfully, Zhou had Yer by his side. Although she rarely spoke, it felt much better to have someone by his side. As Zhou set up the valley, he grinded the dungeon on his phone, waiting for the white-robed man to appear again. This wait lasted 7 days. On the evening of the 7th day, Zhou finally heard the familiar sound of a flute again. He hurriedly ran to the peach blossom tree by the stream and saw the white-robed man sitting at the same spot as last time, playing the flute. The sound of his flute was clear and ethereal, relaxing one's mood after hearing it. It made one forget their worries and feel at ease. Zhou's mind was firm, and he wasn't affected by the flute. He only thought about how to subdue the white-robed man and ask him the way to leave. We meet again. After the tune, the white-robed man looked at Zhou and said, "Do you want to drink this time? I just want to know how to leave this place." Zhou stared intently at the white-robed man. No matter what, he couldn't let him disappear like last time. "From the looks of it, you have made up your mind," the white-robed man said as he held his wine glass. "Yes." Zhou nodded slightly as he gripped the bamboo blade in his hand tightly. "All right then, I can tell you how to leave this place, but I have a condition," the white-robed man said to Zhou in surprise. "What condition?" Zhou looked at the white-robed man in surprise. "Do you know how to use a sword?" the white-robed man said as he played with his wine glass. "Not really. I've only learned a few sword techniques," Zhou answered. "It's fine if you don't. I have a sword technique here. As long as you can learn it, I'll tell you the way to leave this place," the white-robed man said. "Why?" Zhou was somewhat alarmed. He had never seen such a dimensional creature. "No reason. Are you learning it or not?" The white-robed man didn't explain the reason. "I'll learn it." Zhou thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. "This sword technique of mine has a total of 13 moves. It's not too difficult. No matter how stupid you are, you should be able to learn it in 3 to 5 days. As the man in white spoke, he stood up, picked up a withered branch from the ground, and then started waving it. Using the branch as a sword, he displayed the sword technique. The sword technique was clear and elegant, as if it didn't contain any killing intent. Most of the sword techniques in the world sought to injure the enemy, but his sword technique was not oppressive at all. Rather than saying it was killing the enemy, it was more like a sword dance for self-entertainment. Soon, the white-robed man performed the 13 moves before asking Zhou with a faint smile, "Have you memorized it?" "Got it." Zhou's memory was excellent, and the 13 moves weren't too complicated. He remembered every move clearly. The man in white smiled. "Come and find me after you've mastered it. There's no need to go through all that trouble. I'll show it to you now. It shouldn't be difficult to learn it tonight. As long as I can use the complete sword art, I'll be considered to have learned it, right?" Zhou said to the white-robed man. That's right. As long as you can use the complete sword art once, you'll be considered to have learned it. The white-robed man spun the bamboo flute between his fingers. All right, I'll show you now, Zhou said as he summoned a legendary sword. As Zhou spoke, he summoned a legendary slender sword. It was a companion egg that had dropped from the ancient sword tomb. It wasn't of much use, but from its sword shape, it was more suitable for this sword technique. So Zhou casually summoned it. Zhou held the sword and recalled the white-robed man's sword technique in his mind. After confirming that he hadn't forgotten any details, Zhou began striking. With his combat experience and talent, it was too easy for him to imitate the moves of his sword technique. Ignoring the 13 moves, even if there were more than 100 moves, Zhou would be able to imitate them perfectly just by watching them once. However, when Zhou stabbed out, he was stunned. He couldn't continue practicing it after just one stab. It wasn't that the moves of the sword technique were difficult. With Zhou's current physique, no matter how difficult the move was, he could perform it as long as it could be supported by a human body. However, Zhou couldn't continue this strike because he realized that the sword technique in his memories was somewhat different from the one demonstrated by the white-robed man. Strange. How can it be different? Zhou frowned slightly as he retracted his sword and carefully recalled the white-robed man's sword technique. The memories regarding the sword technique clearly appeared in Zhou's mind, but his expression gradually changed. This was because the sword technique in his mind seemed to be completely different from the complete technique he had just memorized. This feeling was very odd. It was like a person clearly remembering that the person they saw was dressed in red, but when they tried to recall it, the color of the person's clothes in their memories turned white. Zhou had never encountered a conflict between his memories. He turned to look at the white-robed man, wanting to ask him what was going on, but there was no one under the peach blossom tree. The white-robed man had long vanished. Zhou frowned slightly as he recalled the 13 moves again. However, the sword technique this time was different from the previous two memories. It was as if Zhou had memorized 3 different sword techniques. Although the sword techniques were all 13 moves, their styles were completely different. The sword technique demonstrated by the white-robed man was elegant, but the sword technique in Zhou's second memory was ferocious and domineering. The sword technique in his third memory was gentle and mysterious, making Zhou doubt his memories. Then, when Zhou tried to recall it carefully again, he realized that the sword technique had changed again. Every time he recalled the sword technique, it seemed to be different. What the hell is going on? Zhou's expression kept changing. He was certain that there was absolutely nothing wrong with his memory, but why was his memory constantly changing? Zhou couldn't figure it out either. Is it an illusion? Zhou quickly rejected this thought. He was very focused. Even if it was an illusion, it couldn't shake his will. If it was just a pure illusion, it was impossible for it to affect his brain. If it's not an illusion, there's something wrong with the sword technique itself. Zhou recalled the 13 moves again and again. He wanted to see how many different memories he had. The night passed, and the sun rose and set. When night fell again, Zhou had already recalled it at least 100 times. However, the sword technique he recalled every time was different. None of them were repeated. Have you memorized it? As the moon rose above the branches, the white-robed man appeared under the peach blossom tree again. He sat on the root and held an alcohol flask in one hand and a wine cup in the other. Chapter 884. What sword technique is this? Zhou asked the white-robed man. Previously, he wasn't interested in the white-robed man's sword technique. He only wanted to memorize it and get the white-robed man to tell him the way to leave. Therefore, he didn't even ask what the sword technique's name was. Now, Zhou had no choice but to take this inconspicuous sword technique seriously. This was because he couldn't confidently tell the white-robed man that he had memorized the sword technique like before. There's no name. It's called whatever you think it is, the white-robed man said. Zhou frowned at the white-robed man and didn't say a word for a while. Although he had long guessed that it was impossible for the white-robed man to tell him the way to leave so easily, the strangeness of the sword technique exceeded his imagination. "Do you want me to demonstrate it to you again?" the white-robed man asked Zhou Wen with a smile. "There's no need." Zhou Wen shook his head and gestured with the sword in his hand. At the same time, he kept recalling the white-robed man's 13 sword moves. The white-robed man's sword technique seemed to have endless changes. Every time Zhou Wen recalled it, it was different. For the next few days, Zhou Wen kept recalling and gesturing with his sword, but to no avail. Now, Zhou Wen's eyes were bloodshot as though he had been possessed. Under the clean moonlight, the white-robed man sat under the peach blossom tree. As he watched Zhou Wen practice his swordplay, he fiddled with the wine cup in his hand and muttered to himself, "There's nothing in the world to begin with. Why bother?" With that said, the white-robed man drank the wine in the cup in one gulp. Under the moonlight, the stream reflected the white-robed man's figure. However, the figure reflected wasn't a handsome man, but a skeleton in ragged clothes. After another 2 days, Zhou Wen seemed to be possessed. He sat under the peach blossom tree in a daze. His eyes had turned blood red, and he was in a terrible state. Yer remained obediently by Zhou Wen's side, not saying a word or disturbing him. Night descended on the valley again. The white-robed man appeared under the peach blossom tree again. He looked at the possessed Zhou Wen with a strange glint in his eyes. Then he looked at Ye, who was sitting beside Zhou Wen. "Young lady, do you want to learn sword techniques?" Ye looked at the white-robed man expressionlessly without any reaction, as though she couldn't understand him. "Is he your father? From the looks of it, your father's memory isn't very good. He can't even remember such a simple sword technique after learning it for so many days. I think you are smart. If it's you, you should be able to learn it very quickly. When the time comes, you can leave with your father," the white-robed man said to Ye still looked at him expressionlessly without any reaction. "Fine. You're still so young. You probably don't know what a sword is. It's fine if you don't want to learn. I will personally send you off from this world. Just like your father, you can stay in this worry-free place forever," the white-robed man said to himself. With that said, the white-robed man stood up and walked towards Ye with the bamboo flute in his hand. Just as he was about to reach Ye, the bamboo flute in his hand stabbed at Ye's heart like a blade. Dang! With a flash of the saber beam, the bamboo flute in the white-robed man's hand was instantly sliced into two. With bamboo blade in hand, Zhou Wen stood up and stared coldly at the white-robed man. "How is this possible?" The white-robed man looked at Zhou Wen in shock, as though he had seen a ghost. "I've already memorized your sword technique," Zhou Wen said as he stared at the white-robed man with bamboo blade in hand. "Impossible. It's impossible for you to remember it." The white-robed man didn't believe Zhou Wen at all. "Why is it impossible?" The blood vessels in Zhou Wen's eyes slowly receded as he pointed the bamboo blade in his hand at the white-robed man. "Because..." The white-robed man couldn't say a word. "Because it's not the 13 sword techniques at all, but the amalgamation of 3,000 sword intents. Every time I recall it, I will feel a different sword intent. No matter how good my memory is, it's impossible for me to remember all 3,000 sword intents. Right?" Zhou Wen said. "That's right. That's not a sword technique that humans can learn. You actually didn't fall into the endless cycle of sword intent. You do have some ability. However, it's a pity that you haven't learned my sword technique, so you naturally can't leave this place. In the end, you will still die here. It's just a matter of time," the white-robed man said. "Who said I haven't learned it?" Zhou Wen said indifferently. "It's useless no matter what you say. It's impossible for you to learn it," the white-robed man said. "Then watch carefully." Zhou Wen used his saber as a sword and stabbed the white-robed man. It was the first stance of the sword technique that the white-robed man had previously demonstrated. The white-robed man was slightly astonished as he quickly retreated. However, Zhou Wen's sword techniques continued to be used. In a moment, he had used the sword technique that the white-robed man had demonstrated. It was identical to the sword technique used by the white-robed man without any difference. "Is that all? Then I'm very sorry to tell you that you haven't learned my sword technique," the white-robed man said with a sneer. "However, Zhou didn't say a word as he continued using his sword technique. One strike after another, the sword moves surged out like a river. At times, they were ferocious, and at other times, they were light. After every 13 stances, the style of the sword technique would change. No, impossible. The white-robed man seemed to think of something, but he found it unbelievable. The expression on his face was a mixture of horror, doubt, disbelief, and other emotions. However, Zhou Wen's sword technique continued. He used all the sword techniques that he had once recalled. Furthermore, he used them in the exact order. How can such a thing happen? Impossible. 3,000 sword intents. How can you memorize all of them? The white-robed man's expression had already turned hideous and warped. He no longer had the elegance from before. I don't have any other strengths. The only strength I have is that I'm focused enough. I can remember things that others can't. It's indeed difficult to memorize 3,000 sword intents, but I still managed to memorize them. Zhou constantly used his sword moves. As Zhou Wen's sword moves changed, the surrounding space seemed to distort and change. The originally beautiful valley gradually turned into a ruin filled with withered branches and charred wood. The elegant white-robed man gradually turned into a skeleton in ragged clothes. After Zhou demonstrated all the sword techniques, the skeleton collapsed and leaned against the charred trunk of the peach tree that looked like it had been struck by lightning. It no longer had any leaves, and the trunk was charred black. Impossible. It's impossible for anyone to remember. It's impossible. The skeleton was still muttering to itself, as if it was possessed. Finally, the soul fire in its eyes gradually extinguished, and it no longer had any signs of life. Zhou looked around and realized that the valley was completely different from what he had seen before. There was scorched earth everywhere. There was no peach blossom garden, but a dead zone. Not a single drop of water could be seen in that small stream. Instead, it was filled with ghastly white bones. It was like a river of white bones from hell. Chapter 885. It was unknown what had happened here. It was as though a thunderstorm had struck it. All the trees were charred black, and so were the houses. The skeleton under the tree no longer had any vitality. His clothes were tattered, and there were many charred marks in many places. It looked like he had been struck by lightning. As for the mountain wall that Zhou had entered from, the crack appeared again. Zhou glanced at the skeleton and turned to walk out of the valley. After walking out of the crack, his pocket universe positioning ability immediately recovered. What a strange dimensional zone. Zhou looked at the mountain wall behind him and realized that the crack on the mountain wall had vanished as though it had never appeared. Zhou had seen many dimensional zones, but this time, it was a miracle. Although he couldn't kill a dimensional creature, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything. The 3,000 sword intents were genuine. They were extremely beneficial to Zhou Wen's swordsmanship practice. After being trapped in a valley for so many days, Zhou was worried that the old alchemist would catch up. After leaving the valley, he headed in that direction with ear at full speed. This time, Zhou tried his best to choose the paths that humans still use to avoid falling into strange dimensional zones like Peach Blossom Spring. When he arrived at a human city, he realized that the people in the city were discussing Great Sky Fiend. After searching online, he immediately knew what had happened. A mythical companion beast ranked in the top 10 had challenged Great Sky Fiend, but it was instantly killed. It didn't even have the chance to escape or admit defeat. This wasn't the most shocking thing. The most shocking thing was that Great Sky Fiend actually said that her name was Yu Suji now and that she was from the Overseas Alliance. Humans could actually participate in a ranking battle, and it was an overseas person who had actually obtained first place on the rankings. Such explosive news immediately spread throughout the Federation. The Federation's upper echelons couldn't control it even if they wanted to. There were cubes everywhere. Many people had seen Yusuji Nao's words. There was no way to hide it. Furthermore, Yusuji now had admitted that she was the owner of Orochi. In front of the entire world, she had officially challenged Tyrant Behemoth's owner to avenge her humiliation. Most of the Federation citizens hoped that Tyrant Behemoth's owner could participate in the battle and defeat the overseas Yusuji now. However, most people didn't know who Tyrant Behemoth's owner was. They only guessed that it was someone from the six families. Therefore, many media outlets were creating pressure, hoping that the six families would let Tyrant Behemoth fight. In the end, it was already the fourth day, but the six great clans did not give any response. This made the people of the Federation very dissatisfied. Zhou had just learned of this matter, so it was naturally impossible for him to challenge Yusuji now. Even if he had known, he wouldn't have challenged her. This was because without a guardian, there was no way to enter the cube's body to participate in the battle. A pure human body could not meet the requirements of the mythical stage, nor could it activate the cube on the rankings. Old Zhou, do you want to join the battle? That Yusuji now is very arrogant. Go and teach her a lesson. Zhou opened his phone and realized that many people had left him messages. This message was from Li Xian. Do you plan to fight? If you plan to fight and need any help, our Zhang family is willing to support you. This is what my brother told me to tell you. This was from Zhang Yuji. There were also messages from other people. They were basically related to Yusuji now. I'm not participating in the battle. Zhou sent a group message and replied in unison. That's a pity. If you defeat Yusuji now this time, you'll be a true national hero, Li Xian replied. I'm not suitable to be a hero. Zhou paused before asking, how are things on your side? When will you be back? I'm almost done with my studies. I'll be back in 10 days to half a month. Why? Do you miss me, a handsome and suave guy? Li Xian joked. That's right. I miss you very much. You have to inform me immediately when you return. Zhou had recently gained new insights into the Defy ancient sovereign life soul. He needed a sufficiently strong opponent to be his sparring partner and help him advance to the final perfect body. After some thought, he realized that Li Xian was the most suitable. Definitely. Li Xian was still very happy. He had no idea what would await him when he returned. After a while, Sheng sent a message. Young Master Wen, Madam has already investigated the matter regarding Xie Yuquan. It's indeed true. Including Xie Yuquan, a total of 6 people from that department disappeared at the same time. That period of time was when old Mr. Ouyang set up the expedition team to Zhuolu. In that case, this matter might have something to do with that department? Zhou asked. That's hard to say. Those people left for various reasons. It's still impossible to determine if their actions are related to that department. We're still investigating further, and Shang said. How can there be such a coincidence? 6 people from a department left at the same time? Furthermore, it happens to be related to the expedition team? Zhou naturally refused to believe that there was no connection. Let's wait for the results of the investigation. A guess without evidence can easily lead to a wrong judgment. And Shang paused before saying, Young Master Wen, Madam hopes that you can return. Did something happen? Zhou asked in puzzlement. It's not a big deal. Madam just wants to introduce you to a girlfriend, and Shang said. Zhou couldn't help but be taken aback. I'm still in school. Why would Sis Lan want to introduce me to a girlfriend? And Shang said with a smile, There's nothing we can do about it. Madam previously arranged a blind date for the overseer, but they parted on bad terms. Now, Madam has already given up on the overseer. She plans on pinning all her hopes of having children on you. Zhou broke out into a cold sweat. Help me tell Sis Lan that I probably won't be able to return anytime soon. And Shang said, Actually, I think the girl Madam introduced to you isn't bad. Not only is she smart, but she's also very reasonable. She comes from a good background and is beautiful. I'll consider it when I need it. Zhou said helplessly. I think you should come back, and Shang said. I really can't go back. I still have something to do. Let's talk about it another day. How could Zhou be willing to return? He wasn't in the mood to consider such matters. The elder was still chasing after him. Perhaps he would chase after him again one day. When that happened, the people around Zhou would probably be implicated. How can I finish off a terror grade expert? After some thought, Zhou didn't have a good solution. Although I have many companion beasts, I don't have a Terrorgrade. It's impossible for me to kill that elder. Only a Terrorgrade can deal with a Terrorgrade. Wait, although I don't have a Terrorgrade, it doesn't mean that no Terrorgrade can deal with him. Zhou seemed to have thought of an idea. Chapter 886. Just as Zhou was considering how to deal with the old alchemist, his phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Ouyang. As he already had an early warning, Zhou roughly knew why Ouyang was calling him, but he had no choice but to answer. "Little one, where did you go? Why haven't I seen you recently?" Ouyang asked. "Didn't I go to the Zhang family's auction recently? I'm on my way back now," Zhou said. "How many days has it been? Even if you went overseas, you should be back by now, right?" Ouyang curled her lips. "I was planning on visiting a friend's house on the way," Zhou said. "Friend? Male or female?" Ouyang immediately asked. "Male," Zhou answered. "What's so good about a man? Come back quickly. I'll introduce you to a girl. She's not bad. If you miss this opportunity, there won't be another one." Ouyang praised the girl again, making it sound as though Zhou would suffer a huge loss if he didn't marry her. "Sis Lan, I really can't go back for the time being." Zhou had no choice but to find an excuse. "I don't care. You have to come back on the 16th of this month. I'll help you arrange a meeting with her. Just treat it as giving me face and meet her. If you really don't like it, I won't force you." Ouyang was determined to get Zhou on a blind date. "I'll try my best to go back." Zhou really had no choice but to brush her off. "It's not your best, but you have to." Ouyang changed the topic and said, "By the way, you can't accept Yusuji now's challenge. We don't even know what abilities and companion beasts the people overseas have. What if an accident happens? I'm still hoping that you can give me a grandchild to play with." Zhou's face darkened. "Don't worry. I definitely won't accept the challenge." After Ouyang hung up the phone with great difficulty, Zhou finally heaved a sigh of relief. Looking at his itinerary, he should be able to make it back to Luoyang on the 16th. After some thought, Zhou decided to return. Firstly, he didn't want to disappoint Ouyang and wanted to save her face. Secondly, he needed to make a trip back. With his own abilities, he temporarily couldn't kill the old alchemist. From the looks of it, Banana Fairy wouldn't be able to evolve anytime soon. He had to think of another way to get rid of the old alchemist. Otherwise, he felt like there was a ticking time bomb hanging above his head, making him very uncomfortable. Zhou planned on luring the old alchemist to Chess Mountain. Perhaps he could make him and the Dharch suffer losses. Of course, this was only Zhou's beautiful idea. In reality, there would be many difficulties. The Dharch might not be willing to be used by him. If it were in the past, there really wouldn't be a solution. However, now that I have the Earth Elemental Beast, I can directly enter Chess Mountain. Even if the Dharch doesn't want to help, I have no choice. She can't tolerate others wreaking havoc in Chess Mountain, right? Zhou rode the great Might Vajra Bull back. At the same time, he returned to revise the Chess Mountain dungeon. This time, Zhou had the Earth Elemental Beast. He wanted to see if he could use the Earth Elemental Beast's power to enter Chess Mountain and the lower levels of Deer Terrace Pavilion. After entering the game, Zhou didn't wait for the flower to open the path into the mountain. He rode the Earth Elemental Beast and entered. After arriving at Deer Terrace Pavilion, Zhou killed all the dimensional creatures inside. Finally, he used the Earth Elemental Beast in an attempt to enter the treasure trove beneath Deer Terrace Pavilion. The Earth Elemental Beast was indeed very useful. It led Zhou through the base of Deer Terrace Pavilion and quickly arrived at a room in the base. There was quite a lot of gold, silver, and jewelry in the room. They were piled up like a small mountain. These gold, silver, and jewelry were nothing to Zhou. Furthermore, he couldn't take them out in-game, so Zhou couldn't be bothered to look at them. He pushed open the door and walked out of the room. He followed the passageway outside and continued searching. Soon, Zhou discovered another room. This time, when he pushed open the door, there was no gold, silver, or jewelry inside. Instead, There was a huge wild boar sleeping inside. After the blood-colored avatar pushed open the door, it was immediately alarmed. The huge boar glared and got up to slam into Zhou. Zhou summoned Tyrant Behemoth and got it to rush forward to finish off the boar. Although the boar was very strong, it was clearly much weaker than Tyrant Behemoth. Soon, its skull was shattered by the tyrant. Killed mythical creature, pig demon. Nothing dropped, leaving Zhou somewhat depressed. The interior of Deer Terrace Pavilion's base was like a huge maze. There were many rooms in the maze. Some rooms had dimensional creatures or some gold, silver, and jewelry, but most of the rooms had nothing. When I entered in real life, the environment there was somewhat different from here. It should be at the bottom of the base. Zhou rode the Earth Elemental Beast and got it to use Earth Escape to continue heading downwards. Whoosh! After the Earth Elemental Beast escaped, it fell into the water. On careful look, it was a canal in the palace. Back when I entered in real life, I swam in from the canal. I shouldn't be far from that area now. Zhou looked around and didn't find any dimensional creatures. There weren't any important areas nearby. Zhou continued swimming upstream along the canal, hoping to find an area similar to reality. Zhou still remembered that there were many high-level dimensional crystals here back then. Perhaps there were many divine skill crystals. Following the canal to another room, Zhou was overjoyed by the scene he saw. Although he had never been here before, there were many dimensional crystals piled up on the stone platform in the room like a small mountain. As he was in-game, Zhou could easily see the attributes of the dimensional crystals. Most of them were at the epic stage, but there were quite a number at the mythical stage. Zhou had already seen a few of them that were at the 70 to 80 stage. Among them were mythical essence energy skill crystals. However, Zhou quickly noticed that there was a strange-looking dimensional creature sprawled on top of the mountain-like dimensional crystal. It was a leopard-shaped dimensional creature. It had already stood up and was staring at the blood-colored avatar. Zhou decided to strike first. He summoned Tyrant Behemoth and charged at the dimensional creature. Tyrant Behemoth was indeed a top existence among mythical creatures. With one punch, it finished off the leopard-shaped dimensional creature. These are all mine. Zhou looked at the dimensional crystals on the ground and had the urge to laugh out loud. However, on careful thought, unless he absorbed all the crystals himself, he wouldn't be able to take them away. It seemed like it was too early to be happy. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.